Hello, welcome to the Pokemon villain arc yap video. Good old bow yap session, am I right? This is what that video is going to be. It's just going to be me yapping for an unnecessary amount of time, explaining things you already definitely know if you played the Pokemon villain arc. But even if you did play it, I hope it's entertaining the way I like yap about things anyway. I don't know, I just like yapping about things. Hopefully we'll be able to section out everything into chapters, so if you're like, I don't want to listen to this arc, you can just fly past it and go to the funny silly ones. Since I am recording this intro actually at the end, I do just want to mention I did not realize how loud my fan was, especially during the first arc. There's kind of nothing I can do about it at this point, which is pretty unfortunate. It definitely still happens sometimes throughout the first few arcs. However, it's not as bad as definitely in the first arc. So I apologize. I hope that doesn't make it like completely unable to watch. I know it's loud. So sorry. Lovingly, I would record Giovanni's arc. However, that was my second time recording it. Really don't want to record that again. Also because I don't have my notes here, so you know, whoops. The only other thing, housekeeping in the intro, is if you're not here to listen to the most like Tumblr way of talking about characters and character interactions and all that, not in the right place. We're here to just have a very silly goofy time and to get really silly goofy. We're here to take every small ounce of ship evidence as fact. We're just here to be goofy. It's all goofy here, it's all jokes here, nothing serious here. So yeah, I just want to get that out of the way in case anyone finds this video and is like, I need to tell this person how to play Pokemon correctly. I'm sorry, I don't play it correctly. I play it so wrong. I already know that. It's fine. Just let me be, please. But yeah, that's I think the most housekeeping I have here. I hope you guys enjoy this video and find it entertaining. Yeah, that's kind of it. I'm Bo. This is me. See you in the first arc. Oh, I forgot to mention, this is Iago. You know him from my last video, if you somehow saw that video. This is Iago. This is Tybalt the Sobble, my little guy. Sobble is my favorite Pokemon, by the way, because he's so sad, just like me. But yeah, this is Sobble. You will see them in the background throughout this entire video. They are my little goobers. But yeah, that's it. If you're ever like, hey Bo, why is your handwriting so bad on the whiteboard? It's because I write in cursive. This is my notes for this section. No one can read this but me. So, yippee! And sometimes I can't even read my own handwriting, so let's hope that doesn't happen. Welcome to the first part of the villain arc. Yeah, we start with Kanto Johto, obviously, which means Team Rocket's back. Yippee, yippee. Try to do a Team Rocket inspired fit. Unfortunately, because of my glasses, you can't see that I drew little R's on the side of my highlighter. It's there though. This is the best I got though. Start off this arc. Team Rocket's back and they just kind of start like generally causing chaos as per usual. As per usual. They just immediately get there and are like, I know what I must do now. And so because of that, Red ends up going missing because I'm pretty sure this whole time he's just been like beating them up. Average Red moment, am I right? But yeah, so eventually everyone kind of collects in a group and is like, we gotta go stop these guys. So you, the player, Lily from Alola, Paulo, who is a Pokemon's only character, and Blue all decide to go investigate a little bit to figure out what Team Rocket's getting up to. So you guys end up in the ruins with each other while they're fighting Team Rocket members. Something a little silly happens with Paulo, and he kind of starts having doubts and is like, I'm not strong enough. So you know what's a good idea? Becoming a little evil. Now he's not going through his emo arc just yet. He is just kind of starting to have the inklings of like, maybe maybe these guys have a point. Maybe these guys have a point. At first, right now, when they're doing, like, in the ruins, it's just another Team Rocket grunt being like, you should, like, join our team. You got the spark. You got the spirit. You should, like, join our little animal stealing team. He doesn't. He is having doubts now, and it's, like, implanted into his brain. He can't get the thought out of his head, but then everyone collects again, and they all are kind of, like, side-eyeing him this whole time now, being like, hey, Paulo, hey, man, what was that about? Did you talk to a Team Rocket member? Like, are you good? But they're like, you know, he's not doing anything bad right now, and if he does, we'll take him down later. Put a pin in that. So while this is happening in the ruins, Professor Bellis ends up getting kidnapped because they were actually just trying to distract the main gang in this case and go and get Professor Bellis, which is like, there's so many sync pairs on Paseo. The fact that, like, I know they were like, they said they were wearing them thin by having them all spread out, but like there's gotta be some people who are just sticking around Professor Bellis, no? But I guess not. She gets kidnapped. Because she gets kidnapped, we have to all go confront Giovanni, of course, and be like, hey bitch, give us our professor back, please. So we all get to Team Rocket's base, and Red ends up showing up, and Blue and Red have their little moment where they're like, you should have let me, like, come with you and help defeat him, because you only managed to defeat half of the Team Rocket members, and if I was there, I could have defeated the other half. I'm your rival after all. You know, they have that little thing. And then, like, as we're fighting and confronting Giovanni, because Giovanni is like, yada 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 yada, you're not getting your professor back, yada 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 yada, I'm gonna become the most powerful strong person here and take over the island, you know, whole thing. Red's like, I know how to get them out of here. Of course Red doesn't speak, if you know, so this is all implied, but like Red's like in his head like, I know what I have to do, and Blue's like, the fuck, do not fucking do that. And Red's like, I'm gonna Dynamax my Snorlax in here. So they're in this tiny building, and Blue's like, Red, do not fucking Dynamax your Snorlax in here, it's gonna take down the whole building. Red's like, only way to get Professor Bellis out of here, am I right? And so he does that. He Dynamaxes Snorlax in there, and structural integrity, who? But they do manage to get Professor Bellis out because it distracts everyone, because Giovanni's like, holy fucking shit, the building's coming down. They manage to get Bellis out, and Giovanni is technically speaking defeated in that part, and is like, has to go back because his fucking base got fucking destroyed because Red Dynamaxes fucking Snorlax in the fucking building. While Giovanni's still doing shit, he figures out how to Mega Evolve Mewtwo, and side tangent, Mega Evolve Mewtwo. I have a bone to pick with you. Who designed that? Why is he so ugly? That poor guy. Why is he so ugly? Why? Why did they do that to him? Didn't Mewtwo have it hard enough? Did they have to make him ugly? So he figures out how to evolve his Mewtwo, and throughout this he's been having his Mewtwo, because now they have Professor Bellis's research, which I forgot to mention. They managed to get Professor Bellis out, but her research was still ultimately stolen on Signa pairs, and since it was like experimental research, it brought out like so much more power in Giovanni's Mewtwo, which like, average professor's research getting stolen. But yeah, so he figures out how to Mega Evolve, so he's like, I'm pretty powerful now. I know how to Mega Evolve. I know how to force my Mewtwo into Mega Evolution. And before that, because I don't think it's before Mewtwo Mega Evolves, where he's having Mewtwo like use all his psychic energy to make all the other Pokemon on Paseo like go into a rampage, which is like pretty shy, am I right? From there, they have to go and take a machine and rediscover Team Rocket's base. This is now the main gang. The main gang, which I believe now includes Misty and Erica with it. Sorry if I get like some of the characters confused within these two arcs, because they do work together, so I'm just like, definitely pretty sure it was Misty and Erica in the Kanto part of it. They go and they beat up Team Rocket, of course, and they again have to go lay low because They managed to defeat Geo again. Rip Giovanni. He doesn't get to take over the island yet, but he's not done. He's not done. He's like, yeah, may have been a little bit defeated, but you haven't totally defeated me because I still have the sync pair research. So he dips. Giovanni dips, as per usual. He dips out like he dipped out on his son. He ends up just kind of laying low for a little bit. It's like, I need to meet Lear. I need to go find the creator of Passio. Gotta go find this guy. I'm gonna include a little side tangent on Lear at the end of this just because I need to talk about my gripes with him. That kind of concludes like what happens in the Kanto arc. There's a lot of like in this beginning arc, definitely just a lot of setup of things that are going to happen later. Like Team Rocket is going to be a consistent threat like throughout the entire villain arc. However, this part is where they're kind of main focus until the end and they're just kind of like fucking around and starting some shit. But here is kind of when they're doing the most, but it's also just like a lot of setup into things that will be coming later. But to move on from the Kanto arc into the Johto arc, Geo finally mentions me like, oh yeah, I'm fucking taking over this island. I'm becoming the most powerful sync pair and I am taking over this damn island. Which like, why? It's just some island. Which, to be fair, I guess it makes sense that like he wants to take over this island because like literally every fucking person is there, including like all the other organizations, which I'll get into, put a pin in that, and a bunch of powerful sync pairs. I just have like one question. How fucking big is Passio to include all these people? Like, is it fucking giant? How big is this damn place? Anyway, besides the point. So she was like, I gotta take over the island. So it starts out with Silver and Co. Unfortunately, I don't remember all the names of these characters because I've actually never played Johto or Kanto region because I never have played the earlier games. But it's Silver and Co. They're all like just regularly training, and then all the Pokemon start kind of Dynamaxing around them. Specifically, they see a Togepi who looks like it's in pain, and then it's like it Dynamaxes, and he's like, everyone's like, oh fuck, what the fuck is happening here? And then all around Passio, a bunch of the Pokemon are Dynamaxing from there. And they're like, what the fuck is happening? Like, oh my fucking god. So because of that, they're all like, hey, this happened on Galar. You know, surprising, like, that they randomly included Lily from Alola in the Kanto region, but they didn't like include anyone from Galar in this section because the whole shit is them Dynamaxing, and they even throw in a line about how it happened back in Galar. Leon had to catch Eternatus so the Pokemon would stop like Dynamaxing, but they're just like, let's not ask any of the British people who know that. And I know it's because they didn't have the Galar people in there, but I just do think it kind of creates like a funny situation where it's like, why was Lily in the last one? Why is no Galar characters here? But yeah, Giovanni figured out how to Dynamax and is now making every other Pokemon Dynamax basically on Passio. And even better, the executives are back, and the executives include Proton. I don't know how I feel about Proton. I just wrote on my notes Proton/negative. So I guess that's my feelings on Proton. Archer. I just wrote Archer ... in the notes because I have no feelings towards Archer. Petrol, my stupid. We'll get into why he's the best part of this damn arc. I fucking love Petrol. That is my guy. That is my silly little goober. And then Ariana. Hey Ariana, hey, I'm single. The executives are back, and they actually end up kind of getting shit done, which is nice. They actually go out and try and fight and stop Silver and Co. and you and the Sillies. They're like, we're gonna make sure you don't interfere with Team Rocket's plans. Obviously they all get defeated, but like it's still nice to see them be like, we're gonna beat up these children. And so most of them aren't kind of notable except for Petrol's to me, which is Silver and Co. are at like a door lock and Petrol's like, you're never gonna get inside because I'm the only one who knows the password. They're just kind of like sitting there like watching Petrol, and Petrol is just like me for real. This man cannot stop yapping. So Petrol's like, yeah, I'm the only one who knows the password. Hey, Honchcrow, make sure you don't say the password. Gotta be careful. Though we're only response to this password. None of us say this. And then he gets all emotional about his Honchcrow because he's like, oh, I'll give you a shiny toy if you don't say the password. But then like, he's like, oh, but you only like that when you were Murkrow. And so he's like getting kind of like all emotional about his Pokemon, and then he's like turns back and is like, you guys aren't gonna get past this door. You guys aren't ever gonna figure out the password, and the password only responds to my talking. And then he's like, Hail Giovanni, randomly in the middle of the sentence. And the door opens. Petrol, my stupid. Petrol, my stupid. I love you. And so obviously the rest of the gang is like, thanks. And he's like, damn it. I also love that Petrol, like, canonically is just like really good at disguises and like making voices and shit. This is the silliest goober I think there ever fucking is. Some random Bolor drop. If you know me, you know I love Junkrat from Overwatch. This man gives off so much Junkrat vibes. He's just a fucking yapper. He, like, down to the way he, like, kind of looks, too. Just Junkrat core entirely, and I fucking love it for him. But yeah, so they managed to get through because Petrol's kind of just a dumbass. Throughout this whole time, it's even better because Silver is having, like, the most amount of daddy issues I think any child could possibly have. Silver's whole thing in this is, like, he's like, I won't team up with anyone because anyone who teams up with each other is just like Team Rocket, and Team Rocket fucking sucks because I hate my fucking dad. And I'm like, that's so real, Silver. I fucking love Silver. Silver's such a like silly little goober. He's just going through his emo arc similarly to Paulo, but Paulo's emo arc is gonna do some things, and it's just one I surprisingly don't really care about that much. Kind of am caring about it more this time around, but the first time I played through it, I was like, wow, man, I just want to see the bosses. I don't care about this kid. Silver kind of is going through the same thing, which is like him and Paulo interacting. Man, I know what you're going through, but I gotta go do my own thing right now. So Silver's like, gotta go beat up my dad. I'm gonna be the only one who beats up my dad. So him and Ethan, who are like rivals to each other, Ethan's like, I'm gonna help you. And Silver's like, you can help me until we get to my dad, and then I'm gonna be the only one who beats him up. Which is real. Real. Be the only one who beats up Giovanni. And Ethan agrees because Ethan's a good friend. I think for me personally too, what makes Silver's emo arc more interesting to me is it's very Goob from Meet the Robinsons, where he's like, and everyone hated me, and everyone's around him like, hey man, we're besties. Because like everyone is so nice to Silver, and Silver's the only one who's like, I hate my dad, I hate everything, no one likes me. That's so funny to me because it's like literally everyone around Silver is like, we're besties, like chill man. Ethan and Silver make that agreement, and then they kind of go throughout beating up more Team Rocket members. Eventually Giovanni like learned how to Dynamax, right? He's like, I know how to Mega Evolve and Dynamax now, which don't know why he didn't know how to do that before, but that's his whole thing. Giovanni's Dynamaxing sync pair, it's Nidoking, which is fine. My real gripe with it is the stupidest fucking suit I think I have ever fucking seen. I fucking cannot stand this man's stupid ass suit. And the thing is, what I think of is personally really funny about me not liking his Signa suit is I feel like I objectively like a lot of the stupid Signa suits, and B, there's like objectively nothing wrong with his Signa suit. Like, it's perfectly fine, it's nice and purple. However, in his hat, you know how they have like feathers usually, and his is a Nidoking ear. Like the feather is supposed to be shaped like a Nidoking ear, and I remember the first time I saw it going, that's stupid. That's so stupid. And I couldn't take him seriously after that. I couldn't take him seriously in that suit where he's like, I'm evil, I'm doing evil things, I'm trying to gain the most power, but I'm like, Giovanni, what the fuck is in your hat? Such a small gripe, but it like completely ruined like his suit for me. So he comes out in this stupid ass suit being like, I'm gonna Dynamax Mega Ball, I'm gonna take over the island, I'm defeating everyone. Obviously, that doesn't really work out for him. Giovanni's in this fun little funky suit, and he goes to Lear and is going to make a business deal. The business deal ends up he just fucking beats up Lear, and like, wow, that really worked out for you, huh? Now you got enemies because you just beat up you beat up the fucking like king of Passio or whatever. He goes to try and strike up that business deal, and doesn't go very well. But then like Silver and co all come back and are like, we're gonna beat you up, Giovanni. Silver and Giovanni actually have a fight. Obviously, Giovanni is activating Silver's daddy issues more, being like, you're weak, you'll never be a strong trainer. Silver manages to like not beat him, but like kind of tear him down until Giovanni does some bullshit and Dynamaxes his Nidoking, and then Silver's like almost gets defeated, but Ethan steps in, and Ethan's like, man, I was not gonna just watch your ass get beat by your dad. Like, I had to step in at some point. Silver actually appreciates it. Silver learns the power of friendship. Yippee! He's like, yeah, I didn't want you to do that, but I appreciate you. And it ends up leading to later down the line, once everything's kind of done, Silver being like, yeah, I did appreciate that, but I'm gonna beat you as my rival because you broke our promise, which I think is really cute. So Giovanni ends up getting defeated because every sync pair ever, as I stated before, why isn't every sync pair literally fucking ever coming to beat Giovanni's ass? Like, they're all there on Pasio, but they do, they all show up, and Giovanni's like, ah shit, fuck, and he has to go and like lay low for a little bit, but he's like, I know the other organizations are here on Pasio. I should go try and strike up some deals with them and stuff like that. Which is, there's something very interesting about that, which I'll get into in a second, specifically on which Giovanni this is. That's kind of how this Johto's arc ends, is everyone's kind of happy, and like Giovanni's defeated, but he's not like actually defeated, he's just laying low, and they know Team Rocket's still out there, but they're like, we're gonna beat him next time, we'll get him next time. The last thing I think I want to talk about this arc is the version of Giovanni that they decided to go with, because this is kind of more on a meta thing, and I don't know if it was necessarily intentional that they chose this Giovanni, because they could have chose, I guess technically speaking, just like regular Giovanni, but they specifically chose Team Rainbow Rocket Giovanni. Like, he still wears the Rainbow Rocket symbol, which means he has already like gathered the bosses together before. Like in the Team Rainbow Rocket arc, he ends up, you know, gathering them, putting them all in a mansion, putting them in separate rooms, and he specifically gathered the ones that either almost won or did win. That's a whole other topic for another day. So because of that, he definitely has like, inherently, he kind of understands how to get the bosses all together, which put a pin in that for later down the line, especially because will that go well this time? We'll see. Because of that, I find it very interesting that they decided to choose Rainbow Rocket Giovanni when they could have chose literally anyone else. But I think that kind of meta of like he is actively trying to overrule the bosses is a very interesting concept. I guess the last thing for this arc that I want to talk about, that I said I was gonna mention, is my gripes with Lear. It's nothing like particularly bad, but like Lear is Tumblr sexy man and a negative connotation. Like, pure negative connotation. Lear is also played by Bryce Papenbrook, which if you don't know, Bryce Papenbrook is Hey Ladybug. It's Cat Noir, and it is extremely distracting. I cannot stand Lear's fucking ass so much. I hated every time he showed up, but you know, it's not like that bad. But he luckily doesn't like speak that much in this arc. But also, like, if we think about it, hey Lear, why are you letting like all these villain organizations just stay on your island? Especially down the line, as we get down to some of the other bosses, some of the other things they want to do. Hey, why are you leaving them here on this damn island? But yeah, this kind of concludes the Kanto and Johto arc. Team Rocket will be coming back as we go throughout this arc, but this is their kind of main starting point, so I decided to kind of dedicate this one specifically to them until later. But yeah. Is this the only fit that's based around the grunts and not the bosses? Yes. Yes, it is. Is it also because there was no way I was putting on some kind of wetsuit, and we've been having an excessive heat warning, so there's no way I would be wearing anything remotely related to maxi stuff? Yes. Did I try my best to give a kind of piratey look? Yes. Do I feel kind of dominant? Yes. But you know what? We try our best. We try our best. This is the silly vibes we got. We getting fucking silly in this. I'm actually genuinely very excited to talk about this section because I forgot how fucking stupid chaotic it was. You know, like, this was originally intended for me to mostly focus on the bosses and talk about them, but these bitches don't really do that much in this. I feel like they kind of are in the background of whatever the fuck else is happening here. So I'm quite excited. I'm quite excited to talk about this. I love stupid chaos shit, but you know, that's just me. That's just me. So the kind of way this arc starts is it starts with Team Magma and Team Aqua both being like, we need to harness the power of Groudon and Kyogre so we can like figure it out and like be able to, you know, do their whole thing of expand the land and expand the ocean. However, two of the admins, in this case Courtney on Team Magma and Matt on Team Aqua, are both like, aren't we supposed to be destroying the other team? And both Maxie and Archie are like, the fuck, no, what? Like, yeah, ultimately we'll get there, but like that's not our goal right now. But they're like, but like it would be, we need to get those motherfuckers out of the way. And they're just like, chill. Like Matt has a whole line where he's like, has Archie changed since he came here on Paseo? Team Aqua and Team Magma villain raw arc? More likely than you think. And by more likely, I mean it's happening. So yeah, Matt and Courtney are both upset and they're just like, ugh. And so then it cuts to, Giovanni's doing shit still. Remember how he said he was laying low in the last section? Bitch is like, time to release more energy. Amazing. Thank you for that, Giovanni. So Giovanni's like, there's like a bunch of energy in the ocean that can be harnessed by them and can help them be more powerful. And Giovanni's like, we gotta access that. Have you heard of the stories about Groudon and Kyogre from Hoenn? And Ariana and Archer, who showed up at that point, were both like, no the fuck. And so Giovanni goes on to tell the whole tale, and that's how it starts. That's how you know Giovanni's gonna be pulling some bullshit. And it cuts back and we have Brandon, May, and Wally all kind of just like fighting this silly little tournament, you know, just doing the typical like Pokemon kids stuff. And then they randomly hear this giant ass explosion. I'm not fucking kidding. I forgot that there was like a little section where they just were like, here's an explosion sound. The way the explosion sound, I was like, who the fuck died? Who just got blown up? Like, what the fuck was that about? Luckily, everyone was fine. It turned out the announcer comes on and is like, Team Magma and Team Aqua are fighting again. Holy fucking shit. And it's like, okay, but everyone's fine. And so Brandon, May, and Wally are all like, we gotta go stop those guys. So they run out, and Team Aqua and Team Magma, they're both in like, you attacked me first. Like Maxie and Archie are both like, you attacked me first. We weren't doing shit. We were just like fucking vibing here in town, and you guys were like smacking around. So they both think they attacked each other, even though in reality neither of them attacked. Like they're both just like consistently like battling each other, and you get a little bit more of Courtney and Matt being like, we gotta destroy the other team. We gotta kill those guys. I wish I was joking, they kind of do that. And so from there, after they all show up, Steven, Paulo, and fucking Looker shows up. I didn't mention it in the last section, but they did personally invite the international police to Paseo, which, like, I didn't mention it because I don't give two fucks about the international police. Lovingly have never once cared about, like, Looker's whole arc. The international police are just kind of like a weird story arc for me that I've never really enjoyed or wanted to get into, so I kind of just always ignored it. Plus, Looker kind of gives me like Uncanny Valley vibes for some reason. Anyway, besides the whole point, they all show up. Paulo, of course, is still having his like kind of emo arc, so he hears miscommunication and is like, oh, they're both fighting for their own ideals kind of thing. Like, interesting. That's like an interesting thing there. And it's like, Paulo, you're taking this the wrong way. You're taking this so the wrong way. Stop it. calm down. So Zinnia shows up and she makes Kyogre and Groudon dip with Rayquaza. And Archie and Maxie are like, the fuck? Why did our legendary Pokemon just dip? And Zinnia's like, well, I made the Guardian make them dip because they were fucking going crazy. And like, you're in the middle of town with people. So maybe like chill a little. They're like, oh, yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, we gotta go find them, am I right? So Courtney and Matt take it onto themselves to go find Kyogre and Groudon. And it's like, they go off while Archie and Maxie are like, so what the fuck is all this about? And it's because they mentioned that they think that someone else is like behind the legendaries rampaging and all that. So they're like, we gotta go figure this all out. And also because they're like, maybe we can't harness the power of these legendary Pokemon, but obviously like Courtney and Matt think they still can, hence why they kind of go off. And it's really interesting because like to me, probably the most like the least evil villains to me have always been Archie and Maxie. Like they're prime suspects for just a redemption arc because their kind of motives are just like expand the land, expand the water, and as everyone has mentioned before, if they just take one science class they will not continue to try and do that. And also they're just kind of like friendly eyes, like yeah, they're kind of misled a little, they're led astray, but like they're ultimately out of everyone, I feel like they're like not that villainous. Like they're so easily just like can be put back. Plus like in game, in like the regular Passio game I played Archie's like day with, and he is the most encouraging villain. He's like, yeah kid, go and do your thing. How are you evil? But I will say, I like was so used to dealing with like Lysander and Cyrus that I was like, the minute Archie turned around and started being like, people are fools and we gotta like expand the water to make a great haven for Pokemon, I got a little scared. But then he was like, nah, I'm just, don't worry, I won't do that while you were around, kid. I was like, oh. But yeah, back to the like whole main arc of what they kind of do. I mentioned that like I think they're not that villainous because even the kids, Wally, Brandon, and May, are all start encouraging Maxie and Archie, who are like, maybe we don't have enough power to like harness these legendary Pokemon. Like they start encouraging them to be like, yeah, go be friends with them. They're encouraging the fucking villains to go be friends with legendary Pokemon that could wipe out everyone. So clearly they gotta have some kind of good in them because ain't no way. In reality, no, don't do that. I thought that was just like a really funny random thing they just kind of like threw in there. We switch back to Courtney and Matt's POV, and guess who's back? He's not on the board anymore. My boy Petrol is back. My boy Petrol is back, and he is manipulating the shit out of Courtney and Matt. And he's like, you know, you guys could like be sync pairs with Groudon and Kyogre and use their power for yourself and to go destroy the other team. And they're like, wow, we can. By the way, Petrol's like in disguise as another one of the grunts, and it's so funny to me. They're just like, Petrol, get in there, go manipulate these other members of these other groups. I'm just like, wow, amazing Petrol, amazing king. I know that's really bad, but amazing. From there, Courtney and Matt both go make a sync pair with Groudon and Kyogre and proceed to start rampaging. Like, they get possessed. I'm not kidding. They actually get possessed and start like beating up the other team. Courtney specifically, it starts with her and she's like, I'm killing Team Aqua, basically. And then it switches to Matt and Matt's like, I'm killing Team Magma. And it's like, oh my god, you please chill. But it's like, nah, they're possessed right now, currently under like the rampaging of Groudon and Kyogre, which I think is really silly. Then like while this is happening, we switch back to Maxie and Archie, who are like both just kind of deliberating and like they're not together, they're in their own bases. So it cuts to Maxie with Looker and Paulo, and Maxie has these two lines that I'm like, that was gay as fuck. The fuck you mean by that? Looker's like, he mentions, because he did research on them, he's like, you and Archie used to be on the same team, didn't you? Like, you guys used to be a part of the same organization. Don't you think you guys can put your differences aside? And Max is like, no. And then then this motherfucker says, and I know his feelings are real. Which, like, about Archie. He says this because he's like, and Archie would feel the same way as me. And I know his feelings are real. How do you know that? How do you know that, Maxie? How do you know his feelings are real? What happened, Maxie? What happened between you guys? And then he says, that's why I can't go easy on him. Gay as hell. I smell a queer. The old man Yaoi continues to win. Holy fucking shit. It just, that line, I was like, crazy, Maxie. Paulo does not get that from this conversation. Paulo's like, wow, they're willing to fight each other on their own ideals. That's really interesting. That's really interesting. Put a pin in that. So yeah, then from there, obviously, like I was saying, Courtney and Matt both get possessed by the rampaging of Groudon and Kyogre and start fucking trying to kill the other team. They start fucking beating each other up. It's a whole mess. Meanwhile, we switch back to Zinnia, who's with Archie Makwa, and is basically like, we think someone else is making Groudon and Kyogre fight, because she's like, Rayquaza can tell that shit, like this ain't normal. Rayquaza's all excited, like something's happening. Cut to Professor Bellis and Steven, who are like chatting about like what's happening and like what might be causing Kyogre and Groudon to be all like woo, you know. This is when we learn Professor Bellis seems superstitious, which is pretty funny to me. I don't know why Professor Bellis being superstitious was not something I expected. It makes sense, but also I was just like, it kind of threw me for a loop for a whole second. But they're like, my colleague had mentioned there might be a meteor heading straight towards Pasio. It's like, what? What do you mean there's a giant meteor heading towards Pasio? What the fuck do you mean? They just randomly throw this in. They're like, let's up the stakes for no reason. What? Steven's like, yeah, go contact your contact in astronomy. Go make sure that guy is that guy right about the meteor kind of thing? And I'm gonna go deal with I'm gonna go investigate the other meteor that already fell, because this whole arc did start with another meteor falling, but it was like fine. No, it was like a tiny one, you know. It wasn't anything crazy. Professor Bellis takes that as a bad omen, hence the like, oh, I didn't know she was superstitious. And then Steven's like, yeah, I've got let's go and fucking investigate that. And he ends up in like the kind of shoreline, and then you'll never fucking believe it, Deoxys, and I don't know if that's how you pronounce their name, but it's Deoxys. Deoxys fucking flies out of the water and starts causing shit like the true non-binary rep they are. That little shit starts causing shit. And so Steven's like, oh, brother. We switch back to Maxie and Archie, who both found Courtney and Matt because they got called by the other grunts being like, you'll never fucking believe it. Hey guys, there's something's fucking happening. They both go up to Courtney and Matt and are like, stop it right the fuck now. And Courtney and Matt are both like, we fucking can't. We're currently possessed. Like we have no control over ourselves. And Maxie and Archie do the best fucking thing possible, and I fucking love it so much. I think this is what I mean by, are they really that evil? Because like they both take out, Maxie takes out his camera up and Archie takes out his sharpedo. I haven't actually never pronounced this one out loud again. They're like, you can fight us to take out all your rage. We did bad to you guys as bosses, and you can fight us. The way that's like weirdly sweet. Like they care so much about their teams. Unlike some of the other bosses, like wow, they care so much. I don't know. That made me smile because I was like, oh my god, that's so nice. So Courtney and Matt start like, you know, fighting them and all that. Zinnia this whole time is just kind of like, bro, what the fuck? And also May, Brendan, and Wally are also there trying to stop Courtney and Matt, but like, you know, they're doing the best they can. From there, it's really great because Archie and Maxie both have like a little line about being like, we're under the same opinion that we have to put our differences aside and have to stop Courtney and Matt not destroy Pasio. And again, it's just like kind of weirdly sweet in like a weird way. It's kind of sweet. And so it's just like nice to see them be like, put their differences aside for a second, make out a little, make out a little maybe. Make out a little maybe. But they're just like, yeah, let's go help our teammates. It cuts back to Steven and Professor Bellows. And Steven's like, I gotta go for fucking space. Steven's in a whole like astronaut outfit. Like Steven calls Zinnia and is like, hey, by the way, there's a giant meteor heading straight for us. I gotta go to space. I gotta go to space to stop this. And it's like, awesome, man. Amazing. You gotta go to space. And Zinnia's like, yeah, cool. It sounds good. We'll keep Groudon and Kyogre chill down here. You go to space. You go blow up that giant meteor. And Steven's like, awesome. Hangs up the call. Dioxys, the true non-binary rep that Dioxys is, comes in and starts causing chaos. Dioxys starts beating Steven's Pokemon's ass. And it's like, whoa, Dioxys, chill. What are you doing? There's a giant meteor heading straight towards us. Why are you doing this right now? So Steven's like, oh, fucking hell, the Dioxys. And then it cuts back to Zinnia, Archie, Maxie, Courtney, and Matt, and the like. And they're still like not stopping. And at this point, Archie and Maxie are both like been completely defeated. Like they can't keep moving on. And Tabitha and Shelly, who are their other admins, have to come up and be like, we can't keep fighting them. Like, that's it. This is all we got. Archie and Maxie are like, yeah, I guess we probably should like step back. And then the kids are like, don't worry, we also can help you. So no worries, no worries. While this is all happening, because like no one's kind of around, which is, again, how is no one around? Every single person is here on this damn island. How is no one around? But no one's around, so Team Rocket starts stealing their Pokemon from kids again. And it's like, awesome. Team Rocket, you immediately get a chance to do something not that evil, and you just start stealing children's Pokemon. Like, literally it cuts to like some 5-year-old getting their Pokemon. So it's like, could have done anything else. Could have done anything else. Any other evil ass thing. Like, but whatever. And then it cuts back, and Zinnia calls Steven and is like, hey, how's the meteor situation going? And Steven's like, fuck, man, Deoxys is fucking killing our ass. Steven's like, you're gonna have to fucking do it, Zinnia. You're gonna have to fly to outer space. You're gonna have to Mega Evolve your Rayquaza. And Zinnia's like, I can't Mega Evolve my Rayquaza. He's like, I don't fucking care. Get on that fucking Rayquaza and go blow up that damn meteor. There is a whole ass meteor. Please go do something about it. And Zinnia's like, but what about Kyogre and Groudon? And the kids are like, don't worry, we got it from here. It's all fine. So she's like, all right, awesome. Get to go blow up a meteor. So real of Zinnia to just be like, yeah, okay. She's like, all right, Steven. She literally says like, hey, leave all the important things to me. And it's like, go off, queen. That's so real for her. Steven goes and catches Deoxys finally, after like having to kick its ass. Well, it was trying to kick his ass, and he does it, and then they look up and Zinnia, they see like a little sparkle, and they're like, Zinnia did it. She blew up the meteor. That's awesome. There's no more meteor gonna come and kill us all. Awesome. Luckily, after the meteor is defeated, Courtney, Matt, Kyogre, and Groudon all calmed down. Steven found a device on his way back with Professor Bellows that was like emitting natural energy, which made them go like little cuckoo bananas. And it's like, okay, they're chill now. They're fucking vibing now. They explained that to them because like the kids are like, hey, why did they stop? Like, and then Steven explains that to them, and they're like, ah, chill, awesome, cool. And then I love this again. Team Aqua, Team Magma, shout out to being so nice to your grunts and being so parental core, like so being the parents, because both teams show up in town and they're like, Courtney, Matt, apologize to everyone right now. Amazing. I love that for them. It's like they full on make their teammates apologize. What better way to end an arc? And then it kind of just like from there ends off with them being like, Team Rocket is definitely behind all this. Fuck Team Rocket. This is where it starts. This is where the Team Rocket's gonna get their ass beat later down the line starts. It starts with Archie and Maxie and them being like, wow, those Team Rocket guys, not good. We should make sure they don't cause any more chaos. The Inkling starts, the thought starts. But yeah, then from there, what's even better, again, villain rot arc from Archie and Maxie, is they actually call a truce on each other. They say, we're not gonna fight anymore. We decided to put our differences aside again. We have the same thought that we shouldn't be fighting with each other for the better of the world. These bitches ain't villains. These are just guys that kind of got misled a little. These guys, they want to help the world. They actively say, like, after, they're like, yeah, we want to help you guys. We want to be on the hero side. So we put a truce aside. Someone take them off the villain arc. These are not villains. And it's such a nice way to end their arc, honestly, with them calling a truce. It feels so nice. I love me a good villain rot arc, and this one, replaying it especially, just smiling the whole time getting through it. I definitely feel like you can probably tell that this arc was so funny to me and was just like such a good time overall. So I'm glad that is, and then like all their stuff is gonna come back later. So that kind of like concludes this like little section in this part of the villain arc. We will see them again. All right, new section. You know what that means. Fit check. Honestly, this one kind of slays in my personal opinion. I might honestly wear this in my like day-to-day. This like worked out. I was really worried I wasn't gonna be able to do Cyrus's kind of fit or make it kind of look like Cyrus's fit, simply because, you know, big spaceman kind of theme going on. I was like, fucking hell, how am I gonna do an astronaut situation? But then I remembered I had this striped shirt and I was like, close enough, close the fuck enough. So yeah, new fit check. I got, still hard to see, there is stars with my eyeliner, there's stars on my earrings. It's kind of it. That's it. I don't know. I think it slays. I think we're slaying. But yeah, new section. Oh, Sinnoh region. Yippee! Yippee! My goobers place. I put some of my silly little merch of him up here too, along with the typical doodles. But yeah, this next arc is near and dear to my heart, and I didn't realize I've ranted about this arc before. I love this stupid arc. It's so dumb. This is like one of the dumbest arcs, and I love it. I eat it up every time. I'm so sad on this arc. It starts with Cyrus like immediately getting thrown into a coma. Yep, that's how we start this. We start this with Cyrus being in a coma. And he's like, wow, this place is like weird. Like there's nothing going on. It's dark and cold here and dingy. Almost like the world that I want to remake. Awesome, man. Amazing. But then all the teammates wake him up and are like, hey, you good? This Pokemon is clearly attacking you. And Darkrai's there like, hi, I'm the nightmare Pokemon. And it's like, awesome. You already know what's gonna go down here. And Cyrus is like, no. Don't attack the Pokemon. I'm catching this bitch. And so motherfucker catches Darkrai and is like, I know what I have to do. I know what I have to do now. It's like, oh, good lord, Cyrus. From there, like, Cyrus is like, I'm gonna make a sync pair with Darkrai, and I'm gonna make a Signa suit and stuff for this Pokemon, and we're gonna be, like, real besties. But the thing is, like, Cyrus's whole shit, right, is he's like, the world needs to be devoid of human spirit. We can't feel things. Feelings are what causes problems and issues in the world. And it's like, hey man, you're a giant hypocrite. You're about to go make a little silly friendship with a Pokemon again. And the funniest part too is like already canonically in the main game, he does this. He already has a little friendship with a Pokemon that can only evolve through friendship. You already got that. But I think it's even funnier here because it's like, he's like, no, we're not gonna do human like heart bonds with my Pokemon though. We're gonna use technology to like bring it out. But it's like, man, it's okay. You can admit you care about it. You can admit it. It's all right, Cyrus. So I think that is personally pretty funny, like going into this arc, because he's immediately being a hypocrite. Fucking immediately. So it cuts back to the kids, and it's like just Barry and Lucas, and they're like, and I think with Professor Bellis, and are like, hey, Professor Bellis, and Looker comes out of nowhere and is like, hey, I'm the international police, we're studying, like, we're seeing what other stuff is going on, and they find out that obviously not just Team Rocket is here now, it's also Team Galactic is there, and they're like, and Barry and Lucas are both like, what, this again? They're like, we already got done with these guys, you're telling me they're here again on our silly little vacation? It's like, yup. Yeah, they are. They have to be like, all right, let's go get Cynthia. Gotta go tell Cynthia Cyrus is doing things again. And they're just kind of having a funny moment where they're like, man, why is Team Galactic doing shit right now? And it's like, it's so good. It's so amazing. And so they go and they meet up with Cynthia in the ruins. And even fucking funnier to me personally, because like there is some context that I will explain a little bit later, because there's a certain character that I have to bring up some context to, but like I'm trying to describe this as if you are only going through the villain arc. So if you go into this only going through the villain arc, you would just see Cynthia with Giratina, and she's just like chilling with Giratina, which if like you don't know, Giratina is essentially Satan. in Pokemon, obviously, like not actually, but also like kind of. I mean, there's a reason why I keep calling the distortion world hell and shit like that. Like basically, if we compare it to like Christianity, Giratina might be Satan. Giratina might be the devil. And she's just chilling with it. She's just chilling with that worm Pokemon for real. There's a whole lore thing behind that, but it just is really great. And she's just having a good time with Giratina. And the kids are like, hey, you'll never fucking believe it. Cyrus is doing shit again. And Cynthia's like, awesome. Well, if he does actually start pulling some like real bad bullshit, I'll go kick his ass. Queen behavior from my wife. Queen behavior from my wife. And they're like, oh, okay, cool. And so they all kind of end up going back to Professor Bellis and to like reconvene and all that. And then it like cuts back, and all I have in my notes was, because I didn't realize this, so I wrote it down, because it cuts back to Looker going to infiltrate Team Galactic. But I just wrote down Team Galactic's hideout's in a cave with like a question mark after, because like beforehand Team Rocket was kind of similar, but I guess I just never like caught that it's like all these bitches hideouts are in like caves and shit. They just exist in a cave, I guess. How fucking big is Passio? I have so many questions. And Cyrus starts putting everyone in a nightmare coma with Darkrai. As you do. You get the nightmare Pokemon. You start putting everyone in nightmare comas. As you fucking do. Who would have thought? Who would have thought better from good old Cyboy? That's kind of when we get, I think that's where we first see his Signa suit. Can I say S tier Signa suit right there? This, some people don't like it. I know some people don't like Cyrus's Signa suit. The way I fucking adore it though. It's stupid edgy for like no reason. Like it is the equivalent of like a 13-year-old trying to dress like a goth person, because it's so not Cyrus's style like at all. Like it gives off like Victorian kind of goth almost like kind of vibes. He looks like he's about to go into a graveyard and like take a photo shoot, and I think that is so amazing. I fucking love that for him. Like, what is this fit? Slay Cyrus. Put everyone in nightmare comas, not dressed like that. But yeah, so he starts putting everyone in nightmare comas around Passio, and so now all the rest of the gang is like, oh shit, we gotta go deal with that. Sorry, I just looked down at my notes and like, they're to keep me on track to describe the story, but I forgot I just wrote, Team Galactic admins are the gayest people on the planet. Why did I write that down? Thank you, me. These notes were supposed to be for story, but I guess I really had to include that. So Cynthia is like he can change, but I'm still gonna kick his ass, because it's back the gang being like, we gotta stop Cyrus now, because now he's actually starting to pull some bullshit. But I do like that Cynthia's still like, yeah, I think he can change, and I think there's a possibility if he can, but I'm still gonna beat him up if he tries anything. I really love that for her, because I feel like there's not enough characters in Pokemon, because usually they're like, oh, they can definitely change, like kind of I can fix some behavior, but Cynthia's like, no, I'll still kick his ass. So they all go and they infiltrate Team Galactic's hideout, which, like, these hideouts are apparently so fucking easy to, like, find. How good of a hideout are these places? Also, it's just in a cave. Also, how big is... Anyway, so Lucas, Dawn, and Barry all go to the Galactic hideout, and Cynthia goes a little forward while Lucas, Barry, and Dawn all kind of deal with some of the grunts and stuff like that, because they're trying to get the people of Team Galactic to change their minds, because they're like, do you actually know what Cyrus is trying to do? Like, do you actually know his intentions behind it? And, like, obviously some of the Team Galactic members are like, we don't care, we're gonna listen to Cyrus no matter what. But we'll get back to put a pin in it. I've said put a pin in it so many times in this video, but don't worry, this one's gonna come up in like 2 minutes. Are trying to convince, like, the grunts that it's like, hey, Cyrus doesn't have your best intentions in mind. And obviously they don't listen, and then one of the other grunts ends up, like, beating up the other grunts, and they're like, what the heck? That's so weird. Why did that grunt do that? And then the grunt takes off his disguise, and it's Looker. Yay, it's Looker. Yippee, he's back. And I wrote down what Lucas said about Looker, because I feel like it perfectly describes my feelings about Looker. Lucas looks at Looker, sees him get out of his disguise, and goes, you're that weird guy from Jubilife Town, or Jubilife City, huh? That's so real of Lucas. And Looker's like, hey! Nah, he's so right. He is that weird guy from Jubilife City. Looker had infiltrated earlier the Team Galactic base to try and get more information on all that and disguise himself as a grunt, hence why he's here. But, like, ultimately, like, he just kind of starts helping, like, the kids from there. Cynthia then, since she's, like, on her own, she gets up to Saturn, Jupiter, and Mars, which are the admins. She gets to them and she starts, like, having a heart-to-heart, being like, do you guys know what Cyrus is trying to do? And they're like, we don't care what Cyrus is gonna do, we believe in his vision, and all, you know, yada yada yada, all the typical, like, stuff kind of from them. And she's like, he doesn't have your best intentions in mind. But yeah, she starts trying to, like, convince them to, like, kind of rethink what they're doing. Then it cuts back to the kids finally getting forward because they got past the grunts and getting to Cyrus. And so they go and they confront Cyrus. The kids are trying to convince him that, like, hey, don't rewrite the universe. That's not great. That's, like, human spirit's pretty good. Lucas is like, I'm pretty sure Lucas is the one who says, so you think that everyone who doesn't fit your ideals, that you can just, like, kind of, like, cut them out, essentially? And Cyrus goes, yes. Cyrus says fucking yes. Cyrus is like, yeah, anyone who willing to, like, have human spirit and stuff like that and doesn't want the world to be recreated, fuck them. Fuck them all. Man literally says, nah, I don't care about these bitches. It's so rough. I was like, because he basically, like, does, like, yeah, people can be disposed just as much as Pokemon. You're like, bro, whoa, calm down. Whoa, Cyrus, where did this come from? What makes it fucking even better? Lucas has been recording his ass this whole time. Lucas straight up phone out recording this little shit, and it's broadcasting to everyone. Everyone. Broadcasting to his admins, to some other people of Passio. Mans is actively like, yeah, I don't care about anyone and I will just leave them in the fucking dust if it means I get my way. Cyrus gets cancelled 2024. It's more likely than you think. We get to see some, obviously, like, the admins' reactions and stuff like that, but most importantly, we get to see Sophocles' reaction. So, because I'm doing this as, like, throughout, like, only if you played the villain arc throughout this game, then it's probably like, who the fuck is Sophocles? And this is one of the fun Passio crack things that happens. As I said, Pasio is a crack universe. I fucking adore it. So in Cyrus's day of, he has this little moment where he gets thrown to Pasio through a wormhole and is like, bro, where the fuck am I? And then this kid, Sophocles, who's from Alola, is also kind of an inventor. Him and Cyrus have this bonding moment where they just kind of sit and talk for hours about like technology. And even when Cyrus is like, hey, I want to recreate the entire universe, Sophocles is like, I don't get that, but cool, I guess. Like, hey, you want to like talk about like making stuff? That's the whole arc of it. It is fan-fucking-tastic. It's like Cyrus' little dad moment. Like, he genuinely cares about this kid, clearly. At least in that arc. We'll get to that. He clearly has like some level of care for this kid, and I think it's because he sees himself in it. Also, definitely not because they're both kind of autistic coded, but you know, it is what it is. So poor Sophocles is there thinking he had like a friend in Cyrus. He gets to hear Cyrus basically be like, yeah, everyone I personally find disposable, yeah, I'll get rid of them to get my reality to become true. Which, like, as a child, that would be kind of mortifying to hear, especially if you thought you were kind of bonding. So yeah, Sophocles is a little mortified and obviously pretty sad about that. But then from there, after his recording is like heard, the admins are like, oh. This is the admins realizing Cyrus is a bad person arc. And Cynthia's basically like, I told you, I fucking told you. No, the admins are like, we'll kind of still, like, they're like clearly like upset of that Cyrus basically thinks of them as disposable, but is also still kind of loyal to him. So they're kind of thrown in a weird place where they're like, yes, he did just say that, but also he's still our boss and we still really, 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 really care about him. Also, they're extremely loyal to him, and we'll get to that. The kids and Cyrus go back to fighting. Lucas proceeds to kind of steal Dialga from Cyrus, and by steal I mean Dialga was like, get me the fuck away from this man. Dialga said, I need to get out of here, and made a sync pair with him, which was pretty silly. And Cyrus obviously was like, fine, if you don't want to be a part of my Team Galactic, fuck you, Dialga. I got Palkia. Palkia, destroy this guy. Obviously, Dialga ends up being fine, but you know. Then it cuts back to Cynthia finding some of the grunts asleep, and she's like, what's happening here? And then the admins come back, and they're all clearly still pretty depressed. They like clearly are sad that their boss thinks of them as nothing, essentially, and are like, yeah, so we've been experimenting on those people with Darkrai's power. Like, yes, is it still just their grunts? Also, are they still experimenting on people with Darkrai's powers? Yeah, what the fuck? So that's how they kind of start realizing, uh-oh, Cyrus is gonna start putting everyone in the fucking nightmare comas. Literally from there, cuts back, everyone on Pasio is starting to be put in a coma by Darkrai. They're all comatose. Cyrus is making people comatose with Darkrai's power. So they all reconvene back at Professor Bellis's place and are like, bad things are happening. They're like, how do we fix this? And luckily Dawn is there and is like, I got Cresselia. Cresselia? I'm so sorry. There is a lot of things I realize I have never pronounced out loud in this series. And these videos are really making it obvious that I've never pronounced some of these names. And so she's like, don't worry, I got the dream Pokemon. We're fine. We're slaying. She forms a sync pair with Cresselia and she gets a Sickness Suit. Her Sickness Suit's pretty cute. Yeah, so she's like, don't worry, as long as we have Cresselia, we're slaying, we'll stay awake, we're having a good time. And everyone's like, cool, slay. Now what do we do about Cyrus? Full pause. Everyone full pauses. And they hear someone being like, Darkrai. And they're like, hello? And they turn around. And it's Professor Sycamore. What are you doing here? Gus, I know you have Sinnoh connections. I know canonically you were in Sinnoh for a little bit. What are you doing in this moment? Professor Sycamore. And he's like, walks up to Cynthia and is like, Darkrai nightmares are spreading. And they're like, are you good, man? And then he just falls asleep. Cyrus, I love you. I love you. I love Sycamore. You do not mess with my man, Cyrus. You're making me have conflicting feelings on you, Cyrus. When you put the guts in the nightmare coma, Cyrus. When I catch you. So Professor Sycamore falls asleep and they're like, oh shit, this is serious. Everyone's falling asleep now. We fucking gotta go find Cyrus. And then they realize, they're like, wait, if Darkrai's power is so strong, that must mean Cyrus is also in a nightmare coma. Like, no shit. Yeah, he's also in the nightmare coma. Cyrus plays fair, I guess. He puts himself in the nightmare coma too. Why not? Everyone gets to go in the nightmare. So from there, they figure out that obviously Cyrus is probably asleep, and then the admins decide to join up with Barry, Dawn, and Lucas, a little crossover between Dick and the heroes to be like, yeah, let's go find our boss. Because they still, again, they're clearly still depressed, but also are still like, that's our guy. That's our guy right there. That's our fucking guy. So they all decide to pair up. Jupiter pairs up with Barry, Lucas pairs up with Mars, and then Dawn pairs up with Saturn. Now, if you don't know, Saturn specifically is extremely loyal to Cyrus in a way that can only be read as gay. And like, to me, Cyrus is Arrow Ace, very much so it's not a like reciprocated love, but Saturn's definitely like a little bit in love with Cyrus. It kind of almost is weirdly revealed that Saturn is like a people pleaser, which is very relatable, honestly. I get you, Saturn. I get you. Saturn is just like, yeah, you know, like, even if I wanted to like do my own thing, how could I? And I'm just like, whoa, Saturn. That's a little heavy to put on this 10-year-old child right now. Maybe take a little bit of a step back and reevaluate your feelings on your boss. So eventually Dawn and Saturn find Looker, who's still disguised as a grunt. They take him back, he's asleep, but he's not asleep because of Darkrai. Looker's just Looker. So he was just asleep, and then he wakes up and he's like, I figured out where Cyrus is. Here's the information. And they're like, awesome, bye Looker. Which, thank God, we don't need more of Looker. Lovingly, I'm so sorry if you like Looker, I don't. So they go to find Cyrus, and this motherfucker is in another fucking cave. Why are these bitches always in caves? How fucking big? The entire gang goes and finds Cyrus. So it's the admins, it's Barry, Lucas, Dawn, and Cynthia, and even Sophocles. Sophocles decides to come along. Oh no. They go to get Cyrus. They figure out that since Cyrus is also in the nightmare coma, they should probably go into the nightmare. So they do that. They all fall asleep and get led into Darkrai's nightmare with Cresselia by their side to keep them from like withering away, essentially. And they go and they find Cyrus like laying so stupidly. like people have mentioned how stupid this man lays. He cannot lay normally no matter fucking what. And so he's like laying there, like floating in the air. And basically it turns into all the kids being like, Cyrus, wake up, you need to wake up right now. And then Cynthia's like, I love Cynthia because like obviously she doesn't say this, but the kind of passive aggressive tone she has with him just is amazing, because it's basically like, you fucking dumbass, why are you running away from all your problems? Fucking wake your ass up, get back here in reality, and let's talk about shit. I love that personally. If you don't know, the reason why Cynthia is here for the most part is Cyrus and her used to be best friends, and I love that for them. I love me a good friendship betrayal. So the fact that like they're friends that have fallen out is always so entertaining to me. Cyrus eventually gets woken up because of that, and everyone else gets woken up because of that. So they all wake up and they're like, what happened? Why are we all out of the nightmare now? And Cyrus comes out of nowhere and is like, you fuckers, you motherfuckers. Obviously he's angry, but because it's Cyrus, he's very monotone angry, and he's like, how dare you wake me up? But you can tell on the inside, he's like, motherfuckers woke me up from my damn little nightmare thing, because he thinks this is like ideal world. Cyrus such a guy, am I right? The Darkrai could literally kill you by just sucking you into the nightmare forever, but like, okay, awesome, you want to stay there. Good for you, man. Like, he wakes up and he comes out being so pissed at these kids and is like yelling at them and shit. And Cynthia's like, bro, come on. Cyrus attacks them. And so they finally are like, start fighting him back. And they manage to defeat him, obviously. Cyrus is like, fuck, okay, I'm defeated. Cyrus is like, eventually, like, all the admins step in and are like, Cyrus, we are still loyal to you. We're still loyal to you. We still care about you. We still want to be a part of your team. We don't care that we're just pawns to you. We will be pawns if it means we can be a part of your team. How did he get these people to be this loyal? I love that I love me the trope, as we talked about with like Silver and stuff like that, of the character being like, everyone hates me when everyone clearly doesn't hate them. But like, how did this man get these admins to be this loyal to him? What did he do? This man, I love Cyrus. He's pure, just like sad 24/7, like just depressed all the time. How did he get these people to be so loyal to him? Yeah, we'll still stay by your side no matter what. And Cyrus is like, fine, you guys can come join me. As long as you're willing to be pawns in my scheme, you guys can join me. Fantastic, Cyrus. So they decide to go with Cyrus. The saddest part about this arc is Sophocles is there, right? And he goes, Cyrus, as Cyrus is like turning to leave. And Cyrus doesn't acknowledge him. And then he acknowledges Lucas, being like, you can keep Dialga. Hey, what about the kid you made it, you were like a mentor to? You had a little dad figure moment. You're just gonna forget about him? And he just dips. Cyrus just dips again. Oh, it makes me so sad. You could have had it all. And then everything obviously starts getting like tied up pretty swell after that. We get a cut and remember that Giovanni is supposed to be the kind of like overarching villain. And so Giovanni's like, loyal subordinates about Team Galactic. I don't know what he's trying to get at that. Is he trying to like get Team Galactic to like join his little business adventures or whatever? Or like, is he like, I need more loyal subordinate? I don't know what Giovanni wants. He's just there for a quick second to remind you, hey, by the way, he's the overarching villain in this whole arc. It cuts back to everyone else being back at Professor Bellis's lab and just kind of like vibing because everyone's awake now, everyone's fine, everything's good as per usual in Pokemon. Everything just kind of ends up very nice and tidy. They kind of have this conversation where Cynthia's still like, yeah, I do actually think Cyrus has a heart deep down there somewhere and he can change for the better. Time will tell if that, but she still kind of has the vibes of like, I'll still kick his ass if he tries anything, which again, appreciate that for her. Amazing. So they all kind of end with it, they're hopeful that Cyrus will change, even though again in the previous Sophocles arc he actively said he wouldn't, but like they're still pretty hopeful that something's gonna change. But right now he's kind of too pissed off at everyone for it to kind of happen. So we kind of end off there with the arc of everyone's good, but like Team Galactic could possibly cause chaos in the future. But yeah, that's kind of that entire arc. There we go. That's that one. Alright. New section. Remember the thing. Fit check. Now this one is different because there was no way in hell I was gonna be able to make a Gets This kind of fit in the amount of time I gave myself to make this video, and I'm going out of state in less than 2 days. So I tried to make like a fit inspired by his colors. As you can see, I got the purple, I got the kind of green going on, and the yellow. Tried to do some gaudy earrings, and then I tried to do some like kind of gaudy-ish makeup, some little fun swirls. Also, if you notice, we're also doing this kind of later at night. Just kind of how it worked that way. Good old recording schedule, am I right? So that's basically what we got here. What we got going on for the fit is just a more inspired by, because I can't fucking do his fit right now. My heart of hearts it is, but you know what, as long as we slay. Alright, well, To start off the good old Unova arc, we actually start with Team Rocket, which was quite surprising to me. I actually didn't remember much about this arc at all. I would go to say I didn't remember anything about this arc. So going into it to see Team Rocket start it, I was like, what's happening here? But yeah, Team Rocket starts it, and it immediately starts with Team Rocket trying to steal End's legendary Pokemon, and he has Reshiram and Zekrom currently, and it's Team Rocket's like, those legendaries are ours, give them to us right the fuck now, and End's like, no, the fuck? And so while they're kind of having this argument, suddenly out of nowhere, the Shadow Triad appears, yoinks both of the legendary Pokemon. Team Rocket's like, those are ours. They're not, but like, okay. And End's like, the fuck? And the Shadow Triad are like, yoinks him back to Ghetsis' base. Team Rocket are like, the fuck just happened? Giovanni walks out. This motherfucker gives Ghetsis a weirdly, like, kind of backhanded compliment. He's like, wow, it seems like Ghetsis still has a few tricks up his sleeve. Interesting. Just that wasn't, you know, didn't remember, like I said, didn't remember anything about this arc. Really random thing to have Giovanni compliment Ghetsis. Anyway, End gets taken back to Ghetsis' base, obviously. Good old Team Plasma's base, and immediately Ghetsis does what he does best, and he starts giving End more daddy issues. He starts, you know, just doing his usual fucking bullshit, and End's like, fucking great, I'm back here after fucking all. And then, randomly, in the middle of it, Ghetsis is like, hears about how Team Rocket was trying to steal Zekrom and Reshiram, and is like, seems Giovanni still have some uses. Terrible dad shippers, eat your heart out. Listen, I know it's a whole joke about the old man Yowie and the Pokemon fandom that like everyone ships all the old men together. It's not my fault if they keep providing content. Not my fault. There, Ghetsis obviously reveals that he wants to force fuse all the dragons together, which includes Zekrom, Reshiram, and Kyurem. He wants them, you know, all to be back together so he can use it to take over Pasio and eventually the world. Typical Ghetsis thing. So Ghetsis, you know, explains his whole plan to End, and End's like, ah, great. Then it cuts back to showing Elisa and then Hilda, and they're both in this fun little fashion competition. Hilda's dressed so nice, she's already in a Sigma suit, and, you know, Elisa's Elisa. She's just always pretty. So they're up there, you know, being beautiful, and Hilbert's standing in the background, watching them, like clearly happy, clearly supportive. Why couldn't have Hilbert join the fashion show? Does this man not have heart enough by being named Hilbert? His name is fucking Hilbert. Put him in the fashion show. Let him get a little silly. Let him get a little fashionable. Anyway, sorry. Just, I feel so sad that Hilbert doesn't get that. Hilbert deserves more respect in this arc. And after the fashion show, they all meet up afterwards in this kind of little plaza area, which includes Hilda, Hilbert, Nate, and Rosa now. They all meet up and they're like, yeah, where's our best buddy End? Where did he go? And obviously End's been kidnapped, but they don't know that. And Colress randomly comes up and is like, hey, have you guys seen Hugh? But says it in the most Colress way, which is like, the kid with the quillfish hair, where the fuck did he go? And they're like, Hugh's missing? And Colress is like, yeah, he just went to go beat up some Team Plasma members and, you know, dipped from there. And they're like, Colress, why didn't you stop him? Why did you just let him go do that? Colress is like, I'm a scientist. Why would I go chase down that kid to go stop him? That kid clearly has some plans in mind. Also, I'm not associated with Team Plasma anymore. Why would I want to go around them? I can't blame him for that, to be honest. Slaking. So they find that out. They're like, oh, well, that's probably not a good sign. We probably should go get Hugh. And then it cuts back to Hugh, who obviously ends up in the Team Plasma base and is starting to try and beat up Team Plasma members, but gets trapped in a room wherever they decided to trap N, and N pops up and is like, hey, while this is happening, and is like, hey, what is your whole thing with like trying to beat up Team Plasma members? And he was like, you see, my sister got her Pokemon stolen, and then they just stole mine right now. So I need to go make sure their asses get beat. And I don't respect any Team Plasma member. And he also mentions, like, he has a little line about how, like, his sister's Pokemon got stolen 5 years ago. And then starts going, oh, 5 years ago, you say? That's an interesting time period. You sat there almost like the time period when I was still king of Team Plasma. And so Anna like immediately starts going into regret mode, like regret. From there, Ed and Hugh start kind of collaborating on a plan, and they decide to fake a fight to get the Team Plasma members to open the door and be like, what the fuck are you guys doing? So they're like pretending, and like Ed's like, what are you doing? Like making a whole scene, and he was like, I'm gonna beat you up kind of thing, and the Team Plasma members burst in and are like, what are you bitches doing? And then they immediately, you know, take him out. They just fucking conk them out. It doesn't show anything, but they had to just fucking conk them on the head and be like, awesome. And then so they run out and they manage to find Hugh's Pokemon in this other place, and they're like, awesome, we got my Pokemon kind of thing. And they also find this other Pokemon, Genesect, and it's like, it seems like Team Plasma members have been experimenting on this Genesect, clearly because it's like a bug Pokemon, but it's like covered in metal and has a giant cannon. And he was like, what the fuck? And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, what? Like I said, I don't remember a thing about this arc, and I know this is probably canon in the main Unova games, which I will be honest and say I haven't played, but like, sorry, they just experimented on that Pokemon and made it kind of look like a giant weapon. That's fine. Yeah, okay, that's fine. And also, like, N mentions, he's like, this Pokemon is super injured. Clearly the experiment fucked it up. What the fuck, Team Plasma? He mentions all these things like, the Pokemon's injured, it's been experimented on, it's clearly fucking traumatized. And then do you know what he does? Do you know what N says? He's like, maybe we should, like, set it free to the outside world. I kind of forgot that N can talk to Pokemon. And the way I was like, is he about to set an injured Pokemon that's, like, fucked up from experimentation out on the world that canonically is, like, a weapon? I was like, and you're not about to do that, are you? It's fine. Further down the line, it's revealed that he was just trying to get it to his other friends. But in that little moment, I was like, he just set a weapon of people of Passio. Don't do that. So he's like, let's set it free. Hugh has no qualms with this for some reason, and plays it up like, oh, someone good will find it. You're lucky that happened. Because someone not good could have totally found it. Team Rocket members are fucking everywhere. Anyway, besides some end decisions, they set it free, it goes off, and then it cuts back to Hilda, Hilbert, Rosa, and Nate, and Colress. And Colress comes up to them and is like, hey, people are mentioning there's this weird injured Pokemon that got taken back to the trainer lodge and is being treated there. But it's kind of weird and funky, and we think it was been experimented on by Team Plasma. And they're like, Colress, can you stop telling us information in like the worst fucking way possible? And so they have to go all to the Pokemon Lodge and are like, meet up with Genesect, who is fine now, and it's starting to kind of like run around and try and like get out of the trainer lodge, and they're like, oh shit, this thing has like a giant cannon on its back. Maybe we should like do something about it. But it stops and it sees Hilbert, and it's basically like, you, Hilbert, you're my guy now. We're forming a sync pair. And it doesn't form a sync pair with Hilbert at that moment, but it basically, Hilbert's like, I know what this Pokemon wants. This Pokemon wants to lead us back to N. Awesome. They figured out that N got kidnapped and they have to go find Hugh, and so they're like, I bet you I bet you this Pokemon knows. And everyone's like, yeah, okay, Hilbert, slay, we'll listen to this. So they all decide to follow this Pokemon all the way back to Team Plasma's hideout. And I wrote down in my notes, I wrote this exactly, I yelled it in my notes, because they get to Team Plasma's hideout, right? It's another fucking cave. How big is Paseo? How big is Paseo? How many caves are there? How fucking big is this place? Someone tell me in miles, because I'm American. How? Can't get into that. Can't get into it. But anyway, so they get there, they get in, and the Shadow Triad immediately attacks them because the girls had hung back, which was Rosa and Hilda. They hung back and they're fighting the Team Plasma members to make sure that the boys can go ahead. So the Shadow Triad hops in front of them and is like, you guys can't defeat us. And there's a little funny moment between the Shadow Triad and Colress where the Shadow Triad's like, hey, you're on our side, to Colress, and Colress is like, no, I'm not. He literally says, I gave away the title of Team Plasma quite a while ago. And then Colress says some unhinged shit. He literally just basically says, if you're in the way of me doing science, I'll dispose of you, to the Shadow Triad? Like, bro, okay, whoa, that was really random out of nowhere and like a little bit evil, but okay, sure, man, go off, I guess. And then on top of that, what makes this even better, this interaction, because he's already like, he disavowed Team Plasma. He says, and on top of that, I hate Getsus. Fucking get his ass, Colress. Yes, get that man. I think it's so funny that, like, Colress, who's canonically just kind of like the silly little science guy who is definitely like a little bit evil, but you know, still silly little science guy nonetheless, just like, I fucking hate Getsus's ass. I'm gonna fucking kick his ass. Amazing. Thank you, Colress. Love that for you. But yeah, and then at this moment, when they're starting to fight now, this Shadow Triad, Genesect finally decides to form a real sync pair with Hilbert. But I don't think Hilbert necessarily knows that he formed a sync pair with Genesect. So Genesect kind of, you know, blast the Shadow Triad's Pokemon, which makes them all kind of like have to be like, okay, we gotta fucking dip now. And then the girls meet up with them and they all move forward. Cut randomly to Paulo and Looker, and they're talking about the whole Team Plasma thing. And Paulo, who has, you know, definitely really is starting to go into his emo arc, finally has this moment where he's like, everyone on Team Plasma is fucking awful and evil and none of them deserve anything. And Looker, who is meant to catch these guys, is like, whoa kid, calm down. Looker literally has to be like, take a step back, not everyone on Team Plasma is that bad. And Paulo's like, what do you mean everyone on Team Plasma is not that bad? And Looker goes on to describe every single reason why someone on Team Plasma would be bad. He's like, they steal Pokemon, they manipulate people, they try to take over the city, and he just like goes on a list, and Paulo's like, yeah, why would I think these people are good people? And Looker's like, but listen, some of them respect N, and N has redeemed himself, and also, they didn't necessarily know that they were doing evil. They were just trying to protect Pokemon. Paulo's like, still obviously doesn't get it because Looker just listed off this whole thing. He's like, sure man, cool Looker. Looker, once again, most helpful character ever. Thanks, Looker. Then it cuts back to N and Hugh, who get to the next room over, and Getsus is obviously there. Fantastic, Getsus is here. So Hugh and N are ready. They're like, we're gonna take you down, Getsus. And then Getsus, who's, you know, just being the usual asshole he is, he's like, this is quite interesting. We have Hugh, the hero, and N, the former king of Team Plasma, and we have you two on the same team trying to take me down. But that's quite interesting, N, because you're the one who helped steal his little sister's Pokemon. And he was like, goes quiet, and N's like, oh shit, oh fucking shit. I probably should have told you I was N beforehand, because N had started feeling guilty that he had, you know, stolen these Pokemon from these people, especially now that he was in front of Hugh. So Ed's like, oh, yeah, by the way, I'm the former king of Team Plasma. I'm not like that anymore, but like, I understand why you'd be mad at me. And Hugh, like, has his little quiet moment. He's like, I heard enough from the both of you. And then he's like, I don't fucking care. And you're a good guy. You're fine. Can we kick this man's ass? Real of Hugh to be like, hey man, the past is the past. Bygones be bygones. Let's kick Gets's ass. Then we come back to the whole, you know, fun little group. And they push forward and then immediately get stopped by the Shadow Triad again. They come back out of nowhere and they're like, you may have beat us once, but you will not beat us again. And all the gang is like, God damn it, we're fucking here again. And they can't figure out how to beat the Shadow Triad because they're all, you know, like doing good now. They're perfectly fine. They figured it out. They're, you know, they're being tough baddies to beat. So they're trying to figure out how to get them to be destroyed. And Hilbert's like, well, maybe Genesect can like shoot him a few times, but like that doesn't really work. And what if Genesect gets more injured because we're already kind of tired out, and you know everyone else is kind of fighting off some other Team Plasma members and just, you know, deliberating. Then Nate goes up to Hilbert and whispers something in his ear, and the Shadow Triad's like, whisper all you want, we're still gonna defeat you. And then Hilbert's like, I just need to use Genesect one time. For a quick second, I thought he was gonna like blow up the Shadow Triad. I got a little worried. But no, he turns and he's like, Genesect, and he points to a wall, and Genesect blows up that wall. And after that, the Shadow Triad's like, what the fuck? Why did you just blow up the wall? And they're like, now we only needed to use one shot, and now we got main access to where N and Hugh are. And it's even funnier because like the Shadow Triad don't really go after them. They like all run through this hole in the wall now, and the Shadow Triad is so fucking baffled that they just shot a hole through the wall that they're like, Then we cut back to N and Hugh, and they're currently fighting Ghetsis. And this whole time, while they're both fighting, because N has to take a step back, he doesn't have his Pokemon, and N is still feeling guilty about the whole thing of him stealing Pokemon back in his little King of Team Plasma arc. And while they're fighting, Ghetsis is basically emotionally abusing and like verbally abusing N while he's fighting Hugh. So Hugh and Ghetsis are fighting each other, and Ghetsis is like, see, N, this is why you had to step back and you couldn't fight, because you still feel so guilty about what you did before. And it's like, I don't know how I would feel if I was like fighting a guy and he had like his son on the other side of the room, and he wasn't paying attention to me fighting him, but he was paying attention to his kid and was like verbally abusing them. Well, I'm sure it's like, hey man, stop. He's not doing anything over there. Can you fight me? Like, can you focus your attention on me? But then, luckily, while this is all happening, before Hugh can get tired out and his Pokemon can get super injured, the rest of the gang runs in and gets is like, bro, where the fuck did these kids come from? How did you get in here? And they're like, we blasted a hole in the wall. And then they're like, we're gonna fucking take you down right now, Ghetsis. Ghetsis is like, oh fuck. And the Shadow Triad immediately finally shows up again and is like, hey Ghetsis, we failed. And Ghetsis is like, I fucking know you guys failed. Give me one of these damn Pokemon that I can fuse Kyurem with. And so they quickly give him Zekrom, and he brings out Zekrom and is like, look at you guys now, ha ha ha, I'm gonna fucking fuse these Pokemon together. And the craziest bullshit happens. The way I was flabbergasted at this part, the way my mouth was dropped open, because like I said, I didn't remember a thing about this art. While they're like, no Ghetsis, you can't do that, Hilbert, who has made a sync pair with Genesect and has only like shown to have like one other Pokemon, randomly pulls out another Kyurem. Where the fuck did he get that? fucking wrote in my notes somewhere around here in all caps, not in cursive. Where did he get that? I know Passio is a crack universe. People are coming through wormholes left and right. Where the fuck did he get another Kyurem? Are we implying that Hilbert came from a universe with another Kyurem? Is Hilbert the main timeline Hilbert? Does Hilbert have this in the main game? I haven't played the Unova games. Someone explain this to me. Where did he get this? And even, it's so funny because even Getsus stands there and is like, where the fuck did you get that? There was only supposed to be one of the Kyurems left, and Hilbert's like, it's not impossible to have two. And I'm like, hey man, I'm sure it's not impossible to have two. Can you give me some more explanation to where you got that? What? I like cannot express how much I just was sitting there in my bed replaying this arc and was so shocked at this part. So they have Hilbert's Kyurem run over, attack the other Kyurem, then fuse with Zekrom, and then run back, and then Hilbert's like, and you can use my Kyurem / Zekrom now. I actually don't know what their fusion thing name is. And is like, awesome, and Getsus is like freaking the fuck out because what the fuck was that? I can't even like totally blame Getsus for freaking out in this moment, because if someone just randomly pulled out a second legendary Pokemon that was only supposed to be one legendary Pokemon, I think I'd be freaking out a little bit too. And randomly in the middle of while they're doing this, because Getsus realizes he's defeated, he's just like, 3 fucking times I have been beat by these damn children. 3 fucking times. Imagine being an old man and getting your ass beat by children 3 whole times. That must suck. Anyway, from there, Getsus is like, fine, I'll surrender. I'm gonna go dip now. You know, does a classic, almost Team Rocket-esque pull. And as he's going to leave, he turns to N and is like, N, I feel so lonely and sad that you're going to constantly betray me next time we meet. Fuck you, Getsus. Stop manipulating this poor kid. Fuck you, Getsus. And Ed's like, I'm sorry, father. I just wanted a family. Getsus, double fuck you. Fuck you for manipulating this child. This poor child just wants a family and is having his redemption arc, and you have the gall to be like, I'm gonna be so lonely without you. Fuck you, Getsus. When I catch you, Getsus. From there, then Getsus just fucking dips. He retreats back with the Shadow Triad and the rest of Team Plasma, and they don't know where he went. He's missing in action now, but like, it's fine, as they're like, yeah, he's probably scheming somewhere, but for now, it's not a big deal. Okay, I mean, maybe you could have, like, taken care of the threat when it was there, but, like, whatever, just let them do their thing, I guess. And then it cuts back to Team Rocket again. Why is Team Rocket in this arc so much? Why is Team Rocket in this arc so much? Unless someone on the dev team may have perhaps been... We don't know that, but I'm just saying, it's really quite odd how many ship potentials happen in Passio. I'm just saying, someone on the dev team might be watching some of those Tumblr tags. But no, it switches back to Team Rocket, and they are like kind of deliberating and talking about how, you know, Getsus fell back. And again, Giovanni gives him like a backhanded compliment, like, yeah, they're probably still planning something, but you know, they still did good for what they are. It was backhanded. There was definitely a vibe of like, we'll get them one day. We'll get their power one day. But it's like, what's happening? Why? You don't do this with the other bosses, Giovanni. Anyway, but Archer, who's the one who's talking with Giovanni, is like, should we be a little concerned that those kids beat Getsus 3 times? And Giovanni's like, nah. No, it's fine. And then Giovanni has this typical moment where he's like, well, even if these kids get stronger, we're just gonna beat them and we're gonna use that power that they have for ourselves. Cuts back to everyone back in the main town of Pasio, and they're all just kind of like having fun. They're like, yay, Team Plasma's defeated, and if we know they might come back eventually, and if they do, we'll be there to defeat them. And then Colress goes off on a whole ramble sesh about all the research he's doing. Since he's not part of Team Plasma, he's got to do something, you know? And then and Hilbert walk out with Cygnus suits on, and you know, they look cool and slay and all that, and is paired up with the fusion of Zekrom and Kyurem, and Hilbert is obviously paired up with Genesect, and they're like, oh awesome, yippee, you guys got Cygnus suits now, everything's good and slay. And then immediately Hilda looks at Hilbert and is like, battle me right now. And Hilbert's like, whoa, we just got out here, we were just showing you our suits and all that. And she's like, battle me right now. And that's how we conclude this arc. This arc was so peculiar to me, especially because like I said, I didn't remember a thing about it. So going into it, nothing could have prepared me for like some of the stuff that happens in it. And ultimately it did make it pretty enjoyable to go through and be like, what the fuck again? But it still was like a nice little arc. I don't know what Team Plasma is gonna be up to. They said they're planning something, but I don't know if that comes back actually. If it does come back, I'll let you know in a later arc. But yeah, that's Ghetsis' whole shit. That's Team Plasma. That's the Unova region. This fit might give me heat stroke. I'm fucking dying. It is already 90 degrees out. Does he ever get hot? I get hot. I'm gonna fucking die throughout this. I had to buy a fan because I knew this fit was gonna kill me. Anyway, Lysander seems like the guy who would like beat someone with a fan. Anyway, fit check, am I right? Yeah, I tried my best to have somewhere around here like actual compression gloves. However, I don't know where they are, so we're doing my just kind of normal fingerless gloves. I tried my best with working with what I got. Unfortunately, I had to minus the iconic fluff. Try to give fancy, gaudy. I feel fancy in this. I feel fancy. So I guess that works out. Anyway, you know the fucking arc is great when it's got me writing for the majority of the notes in all caps. When I break away from cursive and just write all caps down what I am thinking. You know the arc is good when I want to furiously post to my Instagram stories being like, are you guys fucking seeing this shit? But we leave it for here. We leave it for here and for now. So to start off this wonderful arc, we got the main five from Kalos, which is Tierno, Trevor, Shauna, Serena, and Caleb. And Serena and Caleb are obviously our main protagonists from there. And they're all happily watching this play by Diantha, which is supposed to commemorate peace ceremony from the war in Kalos 3,000 years ago. And they're having this whole like fun event for this peace ceremony that happened back then on Pasio for all the fun little collisions. Randomly while they're watching this, because they're all kind of like impatiently waiting for it to start, Looker shows up. I'm like, Looker, why the fuck are you back? What are you doing here? And is like, yeah, I'm excited to see the play, but he's like, I got some intel that something's supposed to happen during this play, so like I better keep my eye out. And all the kids are just like happy. They're like, yeah, Diantha, let's go Diantha, which is real because Diantha is so silly slay. Yeah, in my notes I wrote in all caps, Diantha hot. Thank you me. There, Diantha finally shows up in the play and starts doing her whole acting and her whole play. And randomly out of nowhere, Team Flare hops in and is like, we're gonna take over the stage, we're gonna beat you up, Diantha. But Diantha, she's such a skilled actor that she turns into a whole improv scene and is like, we gotta stop these guys. And so she gets ready to fight Team Flare, and suddenly Emma comes out of nowhere, and Diantha, her improv skills are having to work their ass off, and it has to be like, hey, cool, this kid's here now, let's fight together. Like, she is slaying this entire time and like ultimately gets it done. But still, it's like, girl, your fucking improv skills, you had to do so much for this moment. So they managed to easily defeat Team Flare, obviously, and the kids who all are seeing this go down are like, what the fuck is Team Flare doing here? And are also like, why are they suddenly interrupting our fun little play, especially during what was supposed to be a peace ceremony play and our fun little festival? So they're all like scared now, and they're like, what the fuck is happening here? But everything is fine. And so afterwards they all regroup, you know, in the play thing, and are like, hey, what was the whole like Team Flare showing up thing about? And Diantha's like, I don't know, but they didn't cause any problems. Like, we defeated them, we got them done, we got them out of here. That's all that matters. And the kids are like, yeah. And suddenly Professor Sycamore and Paulo show up, start like talking about the whole situation with them too. Paulo was like, yeah, who was those guys that like showed up on stage randomly? And the kids from Kalos are all like, so that was Team Flare. Their whole thing was they wanted to blow up everyone that wasn't a part of their group. And Paulo is straight up mortified. Which, as he should be. That's fucked up. They're like, but like, it's okay, you know, because they're didn't cause that much chaos there. But Paulo's like, why aren't you guys doing anything about that, basically? Like, Paulo, in this moment, I am so on Paulo's side of being like, why the fuck are they not doing anything? Because holy fucking shit, maybe do something about the people who are like, let's blow up everyone. That's not our group. But yeah, they list off all the reasons why Team Flare is bad, and Paulo is like, just baffled, flabbergasted even. And then fucking Gus, Professor Sycamore, he's like, Lysander's behind this? Like, sadly. And he's like, but I had a promise with Lysander. We promised each other something a little bit ago. I'll get to that in a second, because there is some missing context for this. But he's like, I made a promise with him. It's like, Gus, not the time to get sad about this man. Yeah, as I wrote in my notes, I wrote like Paulo and Professor Sycamore show up, and Paulo hears all the horrible reasons why Team Flare are awful people, and is like, and Paulo's like, wow, those guys are freaks. And Sycamore's like, but I made a promise with Lysander. Gus, can you stop folding for this man for 2 seconds and calm down just like a little bit? Paulo and Gus have a little bit of a conversation, and Professor Sycamore is like, yeah, it's not gonna be easy to change Lysander's mind. And Paulo again gets the wrong idea for this, and it's like, people can't change their minds kind of situation. Which, in this case, Lysander definitely won't. However, you're getting the wrong idea again, Paulo. People can change their minds. And like, even Looker's like, no, some people can change their minds. It's okay. We gotta like understand that sometimes people have different beliefs from each other. But it's also like, okay, in this case, we should probably just do something about them. We probably shouldn't be like hearing them out at all. Just a thought. Anyway, it cuts back, everyone kind of going outside and starting to enjoy the festival again, and the 5 main gang from Kalos are all just like chilling and vibing, and they're starting to have a good time in the festival. But Caleb's a little worried because there had been rumors about an invisible Pokemon on Paseo, and he's like, could this Pokemon be? And also, considering Team Flare is there and this Pokemon might be kind of destructive, maybe we should be a little concerned about this. So Caleb's the only one who's concerned about this, but the other kids are like, yeah, it's fine, let's enjoy the festival. Gets the liquor in an alleyway in a festival area, and he meets up with Malva. Someone had reported back to Malva that Team Flare members had gotten up on stage and tried to mess with Diantha's play, which is like also kinda gay that she's so concerned about Dayntha. Kinda gay, just a little fruity. Gotta have that doom toxic Yuri too, am I right? And then so Looker is like, yeah, so what was the whole Team Flare thing about? Why did you give me that intel? And why are people like, what's the new information on this? And Malva's like, yeah, so we've been having some members of our team go rogue, and I'd like you to arrest them. And Looker's obviously like, no, the fuck, I'm not working with you. Why would I ever work with you? And Malva's like, Well, that's awesome. However, Team Flare has a weapon of mass destruction that we just have. So, like, if you don't work with me, all I'm saying, if you don't arrest these rogue members of Team Flare, we have this fucking weapon. Looker's like, what do you mean you have a weapon of mass destruction? And Malva says, and I quote, "It's like insurance for us if anything happens." I'm sorry? They just have this weapon that could wipe out everyone if they just wanted to? Why are we not taking this thing away from them? I mean, okay, side tangent, because we will have to go back and talk about how Lysander already owns the death Pokemon, but like, who's letting him keep these things? Why is Leer? Hey Leer, Passio cannot be that big. How fucking big is Passio? Cannot be that big, and cannot be big enough for him to not notice that these bitches have all these things and not do anything about it. All I'm fucking saying. Then, while they're still at this festival, randomly more Team Flare members come out of nowhere, try and fight kids, and Diantha steps in and manages to stop them. However, then all of a sudden, these two random people come up and reveal that they're actually Team Flare members, since Team Flare has this whole thing is like, oh, they can blend in really well with society. Like, no one will know that you're a Team Flare member unless you state it, basically, which is horrifying. Now you basically have two sections of Team Flare fighting within each other, and the other members of Team Flare go and chase off the rogue members, and the kids are like, what do we do about that? And they honestly just like kind of pause and are like, well, guess that kind of worked out. Guess that kind of worked out? What do you mean, guess that kind of worked out? Then it cuts back to Malva and Looker. Their conversation before ended with Looker obviously being like, I'm not gonna fucking help you. What the fuck? And then Malva shows up again, because now they're not in the alleyway. They're just, vibing with the kids. Since Looker shows up after Diantha, and then Malva shows up after Diantha and goes up to Looker and is like, if you do not fucking help us arrest these rogue members, I swear to God, I will have our boss kill you personally. And it's like, whoa, girl. We live in the fucking Pokemon universe. Can you fucking chill just a little bit? There's also a little bit where when Malva comes up, Diantha's like, Malva, what are you doing here? Girl. I love you, Diantha. I actually personally ship her and Cynthia. I personally like that shit better. But I get the Doom Toxicuri. I get it. I understand. They do be glancing at each other pretty silly. And all the kids are like, oh, Malva, you're part of the Elite Four. Like, Malva is clearly fucking evil, but like, okay. And then, of course, she does her whole, like, whispering to Looker and threatening him, so that's fucking great. Then from there, Looker obviously now has to agree. So he agrees to help Malva. Paulo, Emma, Diantha, and him, they all go to like investigate Team Flare and work on dealing with the traitors. Then from there, because now Professor Sycamore is like, he's with the kids, he's still a little concerned about like what Lysander's been up to. But he's like, okay, I'll just vibe with the main five right now. So they all go to look for the invisible Pokemon. And so they're just fucking vibing in the woods. They're having a good time searching for this thing. And randomly in the middle of the woods, they suddenly see Yveltal and Volcanon fighting. And they're like, what the fuck? What is Yveltal doing here? Yveltal, if you recall, is the fucking death Pokemon. And Volcanon we'll get to. And so they see them fighting, and then Professor Sycamore, who has Xerneas, and Serena, who has Zygarde, they both pop out of the Pokeballs, and they're clearly getting antsy. They're clearly like, what the fuck is happening here? So like, uh-oh, something bad's happening here. And then all of a sudden, Lysander walks out from a fucking cave. Why are there so many fucking caves on Passio? Also, how fucking big is Passio? But Lysander walks out of the cave, and he's in this fancy Signa suit, and is like, I didn't invite anyone. Man, I feel like that's the least of our concerns right now. Side tangent, I fucking love his Signa suit. It's a funny steampunk situation we got going on. I don't know why. Just maybe because like Lysander's whole thing with being the royal but also being like a tech bro is so funny to me. So for him to have a steampunk suit just is, it's so peak. Also, I like the yellow form too. I have him in a 6EXP form with that suit. I think the yellow slays. You could disagree with me all you want. I think the yellow works. I like the Bumblebee yellow. I think it fucks. Let it be known. Let it be known that I like that suit. Anyway, so he comes out in that, and it's just like, what are you guys doing here to the kids? And the kids are obviously like, what the fuck are you doing here? And Sycamore's like, hey. Sycamore does like a good old like, wow, that's a cool suit. I'm half kidding, but basically, obviously now, because they're like, oh, well, here's Lysander, let's fucking question him about the whole team player shit, since that's his whole organization. Sycamore's like, hey, what's with the team player members randomly attacking people around Passio? And Lysander's like, oh, I didn't order that. Sycamore's like, oh, you're keeping my promise. Which is where we have to get into the promise. So previously in the Give or Take arc, which is an arc that you can find by going through the legendary section of this. Again, I'm trying to describe this as if you're only going through the villain arc, so most people would not know this unless you go through that legendary arc, or if you're only going through the villain arc, you're not gonna know this. For some context, through the legendary arc, Lysander has a whole minute where he's basically like banished to the woods. He's trying to lay low. I like considering him being banished because I think it's fucking funny that he was such a menace to society that he had to go get banished to the fucking woods and is just like fucking around there. And so eventually Sycamore finds him through some means, I don't quite remember, but he shows up and has Yveltal and is with Serena, and I don't remember who else. I definitely remember Serena being there. I think Kaylin was there. I don't remember if the rest of the 5 group was there. And in that arc, they keep talking, and Sycamore just does a I can fix him kind of moment. And basically tells Lysander to, like, hey, let's make a promise that you're not gonna mass murder anyone while here on Passio. And Lysander's like, okay, I won't do that. My promise to you, Sycamore, is I will not set off the weapon of mass destruction. I will not do anything bad. I just want to observe and see if you guys can change the world for the better. Because I don't believe that the world will get better because of you guys. But I'll take a step back. I'll chill a little. So that's the whole promise, is like Lysander's not gonna do anything like that bad. He's just gonna be like kind of vibing here, and it's not gonna be ordering his team to be doing anything too bad. We'll get to that. From there, Sycamore brings up the promise is like, hey, what are you doing right now with Yveltal and Volcanon? And Lysander's like, oh, I'm just training. I'm just, you know, sitting here fucking around in the woods. And this motherfucker, while they're having this conversation, and I quote, says, I don't plan to cause a commotion on Passio right now. I want to emphasize, he basically just said, I don't plan to do anything bad yet. And Sycamore goes, I knew you'd keep your promise. Gus, he just said he doesn't plan to do anything as of now. As of right now. He's still saying there's a possibility in the future. Gus, please listen to a fucking word he's saying. So Gus is like, hey, so is Volcanon your new partner Pokemon? And he's like, yeah, I made a sync pair with Volcanon. And then he proceeds to be like, so Volcanon can topple mountains, can destroy towns, create whole new nations. Like, he just starts listing off all these reasons why he definitely should not have Volcanon. And Trevor's like, do you plan on destroying towns with Volcanon? Lysander's like, no. And he says, and I quote, he's like, I'm just talking about possibilities. Why are we letting him keep these Pokemon? And so for some reason that like quells their like anxieties. This whole arc, I felt more scared. I was like, hey, who's letting him keep these things, and why is no one doing anything about it? I know he's like keeping his promise to Gus, but like, promises can be broken, especially with a man like that. So then we cut back to Looker, Paulo, Diantha, Emma. They find out that Team Rocket is the one behind it, obviously, and have been disguising their grunts as Team Flare members to try and force Lysander to act, which is so fucked up. I don't know why. Like, that's even worse. Because, like, I don't know if it's worse that Lysander is, like, trying to lay low and not doing anything because he's keeping his promise to Gus, or if the fact that Team Rocket was willing to get this man who actively tried to mass murder everyone to do that. But from there, they use Esper to get information about where Team Rocket's HQ is, and so they go there, and all of them proceed to get confronted by the executives. In the case of Paulo and Diantha, they get confronted by Proton, and then Emma and Looker get confronted by Petrol and the rest of the executives. Which, Petrol, my stupid, you're back! Yippee! So cut back to the main tribe from Kalos and Professor Sycamore and Lysander. And before this art cut, Lysander had been like, yeah, I find Volcanon beautiful. And Gus is like, aw, you find Volcanon beautiful? And Lysander's like, yeah, Volcanon chooses not to blow everyone up, even though it actively very much can. And I'm like, Gus, are you fucking listening to this man? Did you pay attention to how he was basically like, no. I still plan to, like, murder people, but, like, not right now. Not, like, right now. I still think the world is hopeless, and I still think the majority of people should just die. And I'm like, Gus, please fucking open your ears. I know he's in a fancy suit. I know you think he's hot, but, like, please, for the love of God, look at this man and go, maybe take a step back. Maybe let's not. But he's changing, guys. He's changing for sure this time. Literally from there, after they have the little, like, oh, it's beautiful, Lysander's like, he basically goes on, like, a little rant about how, like, no, I'm not gonna set off the weapon, or I'm not gonna do any mass murder. However, if there are any fucking foolish humans who decide to bring filth into this world, I will kill them. But he's like, but Passio is beautiful. And as long as that doesn't happen, I won't do that. I won't kill I won't blow up Passio, because I don't want to blow up Passio, because Passio is beautiful, a beautiful place. But if anyone brings filth into this, and he says all this, freaking Shauna goes, wait, if you need help from these Pokemon and need help from other people, then why don't you start helping people for the good and start helping the world for good? And Lysander's like, fucking no, the fuck? He basically says in so many words, no. This motherfucker then basically says, yeah, I would hate to blow up Passio, but still gonna murder people probably. All the kids and the professor are like, oh my god, Lysander took our word, and clearly he's, like, changing. He's, like, becoming a better guy and not gonna do that. He still said he's gonna murder people. Maybe not in that mass murder kind of way, but he still says, yeah, I'm gonna make judgment on people if I think they're doing something wrong. Whoa, can we, like, take a step back and reevaluate what this motherfucker is saying? Then, right after he has this whole thing, like, whole little thing with them where they're like, yay, he's changing! He's like, alright, I told you my piece. I told you I'm basically not changing. Maybe the scale has gone down from everyone to the people I decide. Sorry, this whole arc has me just, like, absolutely flabbergasted. And then he proceeds to use Volcanon to create a bunch of steam and fucking dips after that. And no one, I wrote in my notes, no one is taking the right thing away from these conversations. Cut back to Emma and Looker fighting the majority of the executives besides Proton, and all of a sudden, like, they're getting defeated, but a Snorlax comes out of nowhere, and it's revealed that Annabelle is here. Sorry, the International Police arc, like I said, it's not particularly one I find interesting or enjoy. Like, there's the whole thing about Emma being adopted into them, and kind of, to me, that's so weird, because it's basically making this child into, like, a weapon. It's a whole thing. The International Police arc is a thing. But okay, so anyway, yeah, so they managed to defeat all the executives, and they realized it was all like a fake HQ, and they didn't get the information they wanted out of it. But then Diantha and Paulo show up, and then they all kind of just like dip and get away and manage to be fine. Randomly, the Team Rocket members that were disguising themselves as Team Flare get fucking yoinked. The like actual Team Flare members, they get fucking yoinked and taken away. And it cuts back to a call with Malva, and Malva's like, "I'll let you decide to do with them, boss." No. Maybe we don't let Lysander do the deal with them. Maybe we let these poor Team Rocket grunts go. Yes, they infiltrated your team. Maybe we don't do this right now. So then this call gets off, and it cuts back to Lysander, and he's still fucking around in the woods. The Team Rocket grunts pop out, and they're like, "We're not gonna let you get away with this. We'll still get the weapon information that we need from you." They try and attack Lysander, and Malva comes out of nowhere, throws out her Pokemon, and kills their Pokemon. "How dare you attack my boss?" She's like, "Alright, Lysander, deal with them." This motherfucker strolls up with Volcannon, looks at the Team Rocket grunts, like, "Volcannon, go," and proceeds to boil these two Team Rocket members alive. So they, like, okay, so the thing is, in game, they do not show this happening. Like they show Volcannon getting ready to use the whole blasting steam at them. They show that, and then they cut to white, and then they just show like a Team Rocket member screaming. Even if, like, we say he didn't kill them, he still definitely tortured them a little bit. We have actively let Lysander kill two people, and no one has done anything about it. This is a whole joke within this arc. Like, the majority of the fandom has made this joke now, and I eat it up every fucking time, because it's so crazy that they just let this happen. They let him murder people, and this will not be the last time that he murders someone on Passio. No one has any concerns about this. Hey, Lear, this is your island. This is your island. It cannot be that big. You gotta know that people are fucking disappearing and are going missing. Yes, it was Team Rocket grunts. Yes, it was Team Rocket grunts, and they're evil people too. However, fucking ever, they did not deserve to get their asses boiled alive. What the fuck is this arc? Who let this arc happen? Who let it happen? I mean, like, look at my notes. If you can see at the bottom, me going, "Lyce boils someone alive. It's fine. Everyone's just fucking chill about it. Cool, amazing." And then it cuts back to the kids and the rest of the group, all back together, happily enjoying the festival. Like, there's a firework that goes off right after this Team Rocket grunt fucking scream. They're like, "The festival is so pretty. This is so awesome. Everything is great." Everything is not fucking great. Anyway, proceed to have this conversation, basically, where it goes back into the whole, "Oh yeah, we talked with Lysander and we made a new promise with him because he thinks Passio is beautiful and he doesn't want to destroy Passio. So we made a new promise with him that he won't do that, and he's gonna, like, just watch us and make sure that, like, you know, we can change the world and show him that things are good." Again, this is, again, where I wrote, You guys are not getting the right thing out of these conversations. Sure, he said Passio is beautiful. He also said right after that, yes, Passio might be beautiful. I still don't have hope in humanity. I will cast judgment. I will cast judgment on people and decide whether they can live or die if I think they are personally filth. Can anyone address what this motherfucker is saying? Please, for the love of God. And Sycamore obviously is like, my Pookie Bear is doing so much better. He's changing for us. We're taking the steps little by little. Hey, maybe we don't take the steps little by little. Maybe we need to at least make sure he's not doing this shit. Like, take away all his Pokemon. Or, I don't know, fucking go defeat him. But yeah, they have this conversation and it ends up there and they go back to being like, yay, festival! To cut back to kind of what the gang was talking about beforehand, before we cut back, Team Rocket. Annabelle had mentioned that like Aether Foundation's wormhole information got stolen, also along with like the information about this ultimate weapon, basically. And so this information got stolen along with the wormhole information, and while they didn't get the weapon of mass destruction, they now have all this information on it. And Giovanni's like, well, I didn't need that weapon anyway, because that's not like my plans, because I just want to get the most powerful and be the most like wealthy. Then it cuts to showing that he has wormholes now. Like, they show that he actively has made a wormhole in his base and is like, well, I got it now, because, you know, it's Team Rainbow Rocket, Giovanni. This motherfucker loves wormholes. He loves pulling in people from different dimensions. He loves going to different dimensions, considering this one's a different dimension. This is the crack universe. So it cuts to that, and that's how we conclude the arc. Are we happy, guys? Are we happy that we're letting this man basically become a serial killer? Shout out to, I think their username is pronounced Jade Zora on Tumblr, who I randomly had a conversation about the whole like arc on Passio, because we were talking about, I had like ranted in the tag on their post about the perfect world shipping, how like, yeah, I ship it not because they're like a healthy couple, but because it's like toxic and tragic. I want to see their relationship fall out completely. And I had ranted in their tags, and they randomly replied to my reblog, and we started having a conversation about what's happening on Passio. And they were like, yeah, Lysander's kind of a serial killer. And I was like, I never thought about that. He is. He actively is a serial killer on Passio. He murders multiple people, and he murders more people after this. Demoted from mass murderer to serial killer? Is that any better? No. What the fuck? But yeah, shout out to them for bringing that to my attention. But yeah, so this whole arc, crazy. Crazy, am I right? Yeah. Once again, the fucking Kalos region has my jaw just dropped on the floor of just the shit that happens in it. Gotta fucking love it. They gotta love to stress me out. But you know, it is what it is. That's that arc, am I right? I didn't die of heat stroke, guys. I did it. I got through this one. Alright. To the next one. Y'all know what time it is. A. Fit check. B. Alola time. Yippee! To Alola we go. Fun fact, I've actually had this jacket and these glasses for about, I think, 2 years now. I did it for a Halloween costume one time. Yeah, I just kind of have owned Team Skull merch. We start this arc with the Aether Foundation. They're kind of just helping some Pokemon conservation because they keep finding trainers without Pokemon, and so they're like kind of confused about, hey, where are these Pokemon coming from? And if you remember last arc, they had mentioned that their research had been stolen. The foreshadowing foreshadowed, and we're getting the whole issue now. Cut to Faba suspiciously on a phone call, and he's like, you know, he's being real suspicious, like basically saying things that imply that he's the one who gave away the information about the wormholes. And the Aether Foundation, some of the members find him, and they're like, hey, who are you talking to? And he's like, oh, I'm talking to the president. And they're like, no the fuck you aren't. We all know you're clearly not talking to the president. So they go to report that to Lucimi because they're like, just off the off chance, it's probably nothing. But if it is, we gotta go let Lusumi know that her right-hand man is actively doing things. Then we cut to how Elio, Celine, and us, we're back. They remembered we exist. We exist here on Passio. The player character is back. But they cut to us, and we're all at this kind of like festival situation. And you as the player, you ask like, hey, what's going on? And they explain that they're like, yeah, Lusumi is going to be throwing a festival, celebrates Alolan culture, which is pretty cool. I have a question though. So Lusumi must have redeemed herself already, no? Because we're just kind of letting her do things. I remember the thing she did, but I guess it's fine. And while we're kind of having this fun little chat, Team Skull comes out of nowhere and is like, hey, let's beat up these kids. But then Plumeria, who is the admin of Team Skull, comes back and is like, hey, you guys, do not fuck with those kids. What the fuck are you two doing? Do you remember our little promise we had to the Aether Foundation? I personally don't remember the promise we had to the Aether Foundation, but okay, awesome. Anyway, she tells off her own team and like gets them to like leave, and they listen to her because obviously Plumeria is the big sister. How could you not listen to her? And then we have Lily and Gladion show up, and they basically walk up and are like, hey, you guys are all strong trainers. We need your help. There are Ultra Beasts now suddenly on Passio, and wormholes are popping up. Please come help us. Cut to Annabelle, who's making sure everyone's safe. Say it with me again, guys. How big is Passio? Anyway, she's out there in the middle of the woods, and Lusumi comes up and is like, hey, so are you out here in the woods because you have like a tendency to attract Ultra Beasts? And she's like, yeah, how'd you guess? I wanted to make sure society was safe. And that kind of conversation goes nowhere, and I'm like, I have a few questions. What do you mean Annabelle attracts Ultra Beasts? But nope, they completely glance over it and move on. While they're talking about this whole thing, they figure out that it's obviously Team Rocket who's the one who's behind opening the wormhole, because obviously it's fucking Team Rocket who stole the information. They were trying to steal the information about the ultimate weapon. Like, obviously the only bitches who are stealing information from the other organizations is Team Rocket. And they decide like, oh, okay, we need to go stop those guys. And they realize that probably the reason they have all this information on the wormholes and the Ultra Beasts is because the Aether Foundation, they probably have people in there who are betraying them, kind of similar to the whole arc, you know, inserted some Team Rocket members into Team Flare. Then we cut back to Elio and Celine, and Elio and Celine, they're trying to make sure that the Ultra Beasts aren't getting into town, and obviously one wormhole opens up in town, and they're like, oh fuck, what are we gonna do, you know? And then they remember again, we exist here as a player character. Hi, we're here. So we come back in canon. We have already made a sync pair with, oh goodness, I forget that Pokemon's name. We come out and we help stop the Ultra Beast, and we calm it down and all that, and everything's good and select. Then we cut to Hala and Hao, and they're just like vibing, having a good time, walking through town, and then all of a sudden a wormhole opens, and boom, an Ultra Beast comes out in front of them, and they're kind of like, oh shit, okay, let's calm this down, let's make sure this doesn't get into town. And so they start stopping and fighting the Ultra Beast, but it doesn't really work out. And Hala, who's, you know, fun little grandpa, is like, I want to protect the people, so if I can't protect the people, I might have to hurt this Ultra Beast. But luckily, his grandson is like, don't worry, Grandpa, I know you're scared, I got this, I've become stronger. And so Hao throws out another Pokemon and starts fighting him from there, which I think is really sweet. Then, because Hao is like, hey, I'm gonna stop this, Tapu Koko appears out of a wormhole, out of nowhere, and basically starts trying to stop the Ultra Beast, and then looks at Hao and is like, yeah, let's fight together. And we already know that Hao is going to be paired up with one of the Guardian Deity Pokemon, because like he's in the Signa suit already. Oh, it's for the festival. It's like, it's okay guys, we all know it's for the Signa suit. You can just admit that it's for the Signa suit. And so he makes a sync pair with Tapu Koko, and they manage to stop the Ultra Beast and calm it down, and everything's fucking good and slay on that side of the thing. Then we cut back to Mina, who is another character from Alola. I know, I feel bad because I'm like, for people probably watching this, they probably just keep hearing me yap about like a bunch of different characters and are like, who are these people? There is like 50 Pokemon characters per game, and I do keep just like rambling off them by name. Most of them, at least for like me personally, aren't too important, but like everyone here has like some section of a fandom for themselves. Everyone has a favorite Pokemon character, obviously. Well, some of these characters don't matter to me. I'm just mentioning them just in case maybe they do for someone. And also, like, they're part of the story. But yeah, I'm sorry if you feel like I'm just kind of fucking throwing in just like a bunch of random characters. I promise this is just how it is. Mina, who is strolling on the beach, and she's already in, again, a Signa suit because of the whole festival thing. She's vibing, and then she sees some Aether Foundations with a weird suspicious device. And she's like, hey, what the fuck are you guys doing? They're like, oh, nothing. And then this preschooler comes up and is like, hey, I saw some weird Pokemon in the ocean. Can you go get it since you guys are like the Pokemon conservationists? And they're like, yeah, we'll go get it. And Mina's like, hold on now. What do you plan to do with that Pokemon? Pokemon villains and subtlety, they exist in the opposite rooms. And they're just like, yeah, we're gonna steal it and we're gonna sell it. Outright to Mina. Hey, you could have not said that and Mina would have totally trusted you guys, I'm sure. And she's like, obviously do not do that. And she gets ready to fight them. But luckily, the mysterious Pokemon comes back and forms a sync pair with her. And that mysterious Pokemon, who ends up being Tapu Fini, make a sync pair together and go to stop these Aether Foundation members who have been actively like going against what Lusamine wants. Then Hapu comes out of nowhere and is like, hey, I'm gonna help you kick these guys' asses because obviously these guys are not good and they are not standing for what the Aether Foundation believes in. Yeah, okay, awesome. Cool, thank you, Hapu. In this case, like, yes, we're on the side of the Aether Foundation, but I do think it's so funny because the Aether Foundation are villains in the main game that it's like, yeah, no. We're down to clown with them right now. Like, hey, have we remembered what Lusamine did? Do we remember all that? Are we just ignoring that? But remember, Passio is a crack universe, so it's okay. We just accept this. We accept that she probably went through her redemption arc already. But from here, since these two now have guardian deities, both pairs of them, which is Hala and Hao, and then Hapu and Mina. Hapu and Hala both recognize that these versions of the guardian deities are not the versions back from Alola, and they came specifically to protect Passio. We are confirming the alternate universe theory. I think it's fucking crazy that they're just like, yeah, those guys, they're from alternate universes, and they might be from alternate universes that are pretty similar to our own, which I feel like gives us like 20,000 questions. What was that universe like? Why did they come here specifically? Did they have islands to protect there? What happened to the islands that they protected there? But you know, we can't get into all those questions. Cut to Lily and Gladion again, who were also helping stop the Ultra Beast, and they go and they find Faba in the woods, and again, this motherfucker is on a suspicious call. Faba's just like a squirrely little guy, and he's like, wow, you know, maybe the president will feel like I betrayed her. Here, like, you can tell this man is the like evil little man coming along to like do evil little things. So Lily and Gladion are like, hey, what you doing? And there's this really funny moment because Faba's quickly like, oh god, I'm doing nothing. He's fumbling with his phone and he's like, I'm not doing anything. Get out of here, kids. And Gladion's like, well, if you have nothing to hide, show your phone call history. And the way I stopped and laughed out loud, because that was so your mom walking up behind you and being like, show me your internet history, killed me. And Bob was obviously like, no, I can't do that. I can't do that to you. I can't show you guys my call history. And so now Faba looks 10 times more suspicious. So they all regroup up, and then literally everyone starts accusing Faba of being the one who is giving away the secrets of the wormhole devices. They obviously are like, you must be talking to Team Rocket. And he's like, no, I wouldn't be doing that. And Lusamine's like, well, are you betraying me? And he's like, no. I mean, yes, I'm going to. And like, he keeps just digging his own grave. He just foot in his mouth consistently 24/7 and is just making himself look more and more suspicious. And so they're obviously like, bitch, we all know it's you, just tell us it's you. And he's like, no, it's not. And they're like, just show us your damn call history, show us who you're talking to. But he's still like, no, he refuses to do it. Then while all this is happening, some of the Aether Foundation tells the kids to leave, and they do. And so it's just Lusamine, Faba, some other Aether Foundation members, and then like this other little group of Aether Foundation members. And this other little group basically is like, Lusamine, you fucking suck. We want to use the Ultra Beast for ourselves. We don't really care about your vision anymore now that you're fine and good and dandy. And then Team Rocket pops up too and is like, hey, we joined this section of it and they're showing us the Ultra Beast. It's like, oh, thank God, Team Rocket's here. Amazing. Cut back to Acerola, Lana, Kiawe, and Mellow, who are all currently being attacked by the Betrayer Aether Foundation members, and these Team Rocket members that teamed up with them. They're like, oh lord, what do we do here? And while this is happening, two more of the guardian deities, Tapu Lele and Tapu Bulu, come out of nowhere and they start attacking the Aether Foundation members and the Team Rocket members, and that confuses them and kind of stops their onslaught on these kids. However, Tapu Bulu turns around, and I forgot to mention, Sophocles is also there. Someone get this kid out of here. Let him go like play with toys, please. And Tapu Bulu turns around and starts trying to attack Sophocles. Sophocles is like, why are you attacking me? I didn't do anything. I'm on the good side. And Acerola has to step in and is like, Tapu Bulu, stop that. Stop that right the fuck now. You will listen to me. You hear me right now. You will not attack my friend. You will not attack my friend. We are the good guys. And Tapu Bulu is like, awesome, we're a sync pair now. And so they become a sync pair. Fantastic. And then Tapu Lele, who is also there, and she was helping confuse the bad guys. She looks at Lana and is like, we're now a sync pair too. And it's like, okay, awesome, we got two sync pairs. They don't have their Signa suits yet. They will get them in a minute. But we got two more sync pairs with the guardian deities. And they managed to beat the Team Aether Foundation rogue members and the Team Rocket members that had joined together. Suddenly, Nanu and Olivia show up. And Nanu and Olivia, I don't know if Olivia is a member of the International Police, but Nanu's probably the only member of the International Police that I even remotely care about, but that's just because he looks sad. And I don't really care about him that much. I just care about him a little more than Looker because he just looks tired and sad. Then the Team Aether Foundation rogue members and the Team Rocket members both show back up and they're like, we're not done with you guys yet. And so they come back with Ultra Beasts and they're trying to fight them again. And this time Olivia and Nanu are like, okay, let's help you. But then they're like, nope, hold on. We hear someone else and coming back and is like, we're gonna stop you guys. And it's Looker and Annabelle. And Nanu's like, about fucking time, Looker. About fucking time you got here. So they go to fighting them, and then it cuts back to Lusamine and Faba and the Aether Foundation rogue members and the Team Rocket members, and they're starting to fight them. And Faba has his moment where he's finally like, I'm gonna help you, Lusamine. And Lusamine's so confused. She's just like, what do you want, man? Like, what are you getting at? Can you just like tell me who you were calling? Because you weren't calling me. You keep saying president, but who are you calling? He's like, fine, I'll admit who I was calling. I was calling the president of Passio. Mans was talking to Lear, and he was talking to Lear because he just wanted a new job. Like, I was gonna betray the Aether Foundation in the fact that I was leaving. Okay, cool. Thanks, Faba. You had to act like a suspicious little squirrely man this whole time just because you wanted a new job. Like, sure, maybe Lusamine would have been sad, but you're a grown adult. You quit jobs all the time. But I will say, one of the rogue Team Aether Foundation members has a line where they turn to Faba and they're like, well, if Team Rocket reached out to you before Lear had, wouldn't you have joined us, our side? And Faba is like, well, yeah, I would. And it's like, Faba, why are you like this? But then quickly he's like, no, but I'm fighting on Lusamine's side, so I'm gonna stop you guys. While they're fighting, Faba and Lusamine get their ass kind of handed to them, and so they're kind of like, oh fuck, oh no. But suddenly, out of nowhere, he hasn't been here this entire arc, which is so unfortunate. Guzma shows up. It's your boy, Guzma. He finally fucking shows up after all this time. And he's like, I'm keeping my promise to you, Lusamine, the Aether Foundation. I'm gonna help you beat these guys. And he does start beating them. And then he walks up to one of Rogue Aether Foundation members and is like, how do you turn off the device? And they're like, why would I tell you that? And he starts threatening them. He's like, you know what I do to a machine that's broken? I hit it really hard. Do you want me to fix you? I was like, oh, Guzma is like a tragic kind of villain in the sense of like he's villain, but he's kind of more manipulated in the main series by Lucamine, which we'll get to. But I got a little scared, but then it all worked out because the Aether Foundation member just ended up giving him the information he needed, and so they figured out how to turn off the device. And quickly, all the devices got turned off, and then the other members who were fighting everyone outside are like, no matter what you do, we'll beat you still. And they end up being like, oh shit, why did our wormhole just disappear? And the Ultra Beasts start kind of going crazy. And so the rest of the gang make sure to calm down the Ultra Beast. And then the Aether Foundation members and the Team Rocket members are like, whoopsie daisy. And they realize they're all defeated. And so they back off and retreat. Then it has a Days Pass moment, and the festival goes on without a hitch. Everyone's happy, everyone's having a good time, you know. We as the player are back, just vibing. We're learning about Alolan culture, and everyone's having a swell old time. And randomly we see Faba again, and he's still like acting kind of squirrely and just like watching us from afar. And then Lear comes up and is like, hey Faba, I still want to give you that job offer. And Faba's like going to take it, but Lucamine steps in and she's like, you know Faba, I have no right to ask you to come back to the Aether Foundation, but if you want to, you can. And Faba's like, sorry Lear, I have a team to be on. And it's like, yeah, Lucamine, I'll come back with you. I don't know why Lucamine would want him back after he basically was like, yeah, I will betray you at some point. But okay, we can let Faba back on. Why not? And I just, right here, because this is the last time we see Lucamine for this particular arc, I find it very interesting that Lucamine's redemption arc must have already happened, because in the main game, she is not a good person. And it's kind of saddening for me personally, because A, I love evil women, B, she is genuinely a villain that triggers some mommy issues in me. She is actively abusive to her children. It is a whole fucking thing. And I'm just like kind of sad that everyone just kind of forgave her. She's just like, yeah, I'm just focusing on family and having a good time with my family members now. I don't know, for me, I'm just like, it makes me kind of a little more mad at her, considering she was just so awful to her children in the main game. But yeah, so apparently she's redeemed. And also they have a line with Guzma when he comes to help, where Plumeria is like, hey, Guzma is happy actually to be fighting for you again. Which, the way it kind of made me mad, because Guzma was manipulated by her in the main game. I'm glad he forgave her, I guess, but like, she actively manipulated him as like being a mother figure to him, because he has such an awful father figure, like an actively abusive father figure. So to him, she was this like lovely mom, and used that against him. So for her to just be forgiven so easily, I'm like, man, good on you guys, I guess. Congratulations, Lucamine. And the thing is, for me too, this redemption arc gets really funny in the arc after the next arc. Just because I have some hindsight on some things. Let's just say she makes some choices. Then after that, we cut back to the International Police Gang, which is now Annabelle, Looker, and Nanu. And they're all kind of having this casual chat about Team Rocket and their motives and like trying to figure out what to do. But they're like, you know what? There's a festival going on. Let's go get some food. And Looker's like, yeah, actually, speaking of presidents, since Lucamine's the president of the Aether Foundation, I just met up with this president. He's from Galar. We ate here, and it must be really good. And everyone's like, oh, cool, that's awesome. And the way I was like, Rose, it's Chairman Rose. Anyway, so guess we'll see Chairman Rose in just a minute. But yeah, that's kind of the whole Alola region arc. Chairman Rose is coming up next. See you then. I think these bitches genuinely hate me, because the way it is over 100 degrees right now, and I am fucking wearing this. I'm dying again, guys. Anyway, fit check time. Yippee! Yippee! This one I kind of went a little more simple with. I mean, Rose does just wear a gray suit and a tie and doesn't really have too many like crazy fun things going on, but I did include little earrings and try to brush my hair the same way. I also did just some light makeup, mostly due to the fact that I have a flight in less than 2 hours that I need to get to, so I need to kind of be able to change out of this pretty quickly. Anyway, besides the point, am I right? So to start off this arc, can I just say, this arc I think is the first arc where things get really completely cracky, and not in the sense of like every other arc has so far had its own little chaotic moment. However, I think this is the first arc where characters just show up, interact with each other from all different regions, and that's kind of what I mean by like it gets like really cracky here. There's gonna be some moments where it's like, what are you doing here? Get there when we get there. So to start off this arc, it starts off with Rose showing off his copper draw to some children, and he's just chatting, having a good time on Paseo. And then the Galar gang, which includes Victor, Gloria, Hop, Leon, and Sonia, they all show up and are like, what the fuck is Chairman Rose doing here? And Chairman Rose sees them and is like, oh, hey guys, like, how are you doing? And he comes up all happy and nice, and they're looking at him shocked, and they're like, didn't you get arrested back in Galar? And Alina, who's with him, is like, why would you ever say our wonderful Chairman Rose would be arrested? This is slanderous remarks. And Rose is like, I didn't get arrested, I'm perfectly fine, what are you talking about? And they're like, yeah, definitely good and fine. You didn't definitely set off the darkest day or anything like that back in Galar. And so they quickly, like, all regroup. The little Galar group starts whispering to each other and are like, so why does Rose not remember setting off the darkest day and turning himself in? And Victor's like, well, you know, they do say that here in Paseo, some of the people here don't seem to quite remember things the same way that some other people remember things. So in our case, we're all probably from the same timeline, but we think this Rose is from a different timeline where he hasn't set off the darkest day yet, hence he hasn't been arrested yet. So they have that little conversation, and there's the funniest fucking moment because Rose is like, hey, what are you guys whispering about over there? Can I be like included? And the reason I drew this on the board is because he opens his arms that way, and it does give off the where's my hug at energy, even though he's like, hey, are you guys gonna include me in this conversation? And they're like, yeah, no worries, Chairman Rose, it's all good. And Rose is like, well, how about we have a conversation while walking around Paseo? There's so much to do still here. And so what makes this even funnier is it ends up only being Victor, Gloria, and Hop that go with Rose. And for some fucking reason, Sonia and Leon dip. And they say it's because they're busy, but also it makes it look like the adults just fucking left the kids with like this version of Rose that doesn't remember that he's a criminal. And then on this walk, they start talking about Sinkstones because they see Alistair battling, and Rose is like, whoa, what is Alistair doing? What's that weird glowy thing on his hip? What is that about? And Victor's like, oh, that's Sinkstones. Sinkstones are the things we use for Pokemon here, Paseo, to make sync pairs, and we can do all these fun little battle things with them. And Rose is like, oh, cool. Who manages these? And Victor's like, oh, Prince Lear, which I know I've been calling Lear a bunch of different titles. It is Prince, and I just kind of forgot it was Prince. It's only the third to last arc that I figured out he's a prince again. Anyway, so they proceed to go and take Rose to Lear, which is like, they're all suspicious that Rose might end up down the same path that he was going down in Galar. I don't think taking him to Lear to show him the Sinkstones is gonna be very helpful. They just take him to Lear. Fucking awesome. Okay, cool. And while they're there, Lear and Professor Bella shows up, and they start having this conversation about Sinkstones, and Rose is like, whoa, we could use those Sinkstones for energy restoration. The kids are kind of like, side eye, uh-oh. And Lear and Professor Bellis, who are listening to this, are like, we've been dealing with Team Rocket members stealing our shit. No, we're not going to be using Sinkstones to make energy. And also, that limits the whole point of Sinkstones, which is to have these bonds with your Pokemon. Why would we use that for energy? And Rose is like, well, you know, you should really give it a thought, and I'll give it a thought. And then Rose dips, and it's so funny because Victor's like, hey, I'm a little worried now that Rose might, you know, kind of fall down the same path that he was going down in Galar. And Professor Bellis is like, even if he wanted to try and use the Sync Stones, he just got here on Passio. He doesn't have shit. He doesn't have a lab. He doesn't have anything that could cause him to cause any chaos with the Sync Stones, which I just think is so funny. She really looked at Rose and went, you don't have anything. So it cuts back to Rose, and he's in this like weird cavernous bay area, which another fucking cave. At least it's technically not a cave. It's kind of a cave. I think it leads from a cave. Say it with me, guys. How fucking big is that? Anyway, besides the point. Rose is standing there, and suddenly out of the shadows, a mysterious man shows up. And this mysterious man is fucking obviously Giovanni. It's always been Giovanni. Like, Rose doesn't know Giovanni in this case, but it's fucking Giovanni. He rolls up in his stupid purple Nidoking signet suit and is like, me and you, we should become business partners because I have the Syncstone information that you want, because Lear is definitely not going to give you the Syncstone information, and neither is Bellis, so, like, I can give it to you. I can give it to you. We join forces. And Rose is like, you're right. The energy crisis that could happen in a millennium, we need to deal with it right the fuck now. We need to deal with it right now. I don't care who I team up with, and I don't care if I look like a bad person because of this. So Rose is falling really right back down to where he is in Galar. And so him and Giovanni team up. They make their whole business deal. Cut to a few days later, and Rose is submitting applications for all the big arenas within Passio. And this is because Giovanni's like, well, you should try and take over management of Sync Stones, because if you take over the management of Sync Stones, then we have better access. So he's submitting all the applications to these big arenas. So the whole Galar gang is back and is like, why we're trying to have a fun little tournament moment. Why can't we? And Sawyer, who's one of Lear's assistants, is like, yeah, so Rose has kind of submitted for literally everything. Tough luck, you only got the town square. They're like, that's probably fine, but like, Victor, get into one of those tournaments for Rose so we can make sure that he's not gonna pull any bullshit. Cut to the gang kind of just having their fun little tournament within the town square, but then we cut back to Victor being in one of Rose's tournaments. And while Victor is in one of Rose's tournaments, Rose comes out and starts showing inventions they made with the Sync Stones and is like, look what we can do with the Sync Stones. We can help with the energy crisis. Victor's like, oh my god, uh-oh. like Victor can tell the red flags pretty easily. So after Rose shows off all these inventions, he then makes the announcement that he's like, yeah, by the way, I want to take over Sync Pair management. Lear, he's monopolizing on these Sync Stones and is making it so only you can have it paired with your Pokemon. We should use it for the energy instead. This is for the betterment of humanity. And Victor's like, oh fuck. He's right back to where he was in Galar. Cut to outside, because Rose had been announcing this to all over Passio, and we see like two random audience members just like watching, and they start kind of having a little argument about how whether Rose is right or whether they should stay on Lear's side. Remember how I said this is the first arc where things get a little cracky? It turns Professor Sycamore, Serena, and Caleb are there, and they're watching this, and I'm like, oh no. Now, if it isn't obvious, if you haven't seen the kind of parallels, Lysander and Rose kind of have some similar shit going on. Lysander has worse ideas with, like, trying to help the future. It's like, killing everyone? Oh, great. That will help keep the resources down, I'm sure, but anyway, but Rose has a similar arc where he's like, I need to help the future just in case this thing happens way far down in the future. And it's like, man, we don't know if that's gonna happen way far down in the future. So they have a very similar kind of like idea there. So to see the Kalos characters here just watching this, and I was just like, oh no. And then they make it worse because they start talking, because they're like needing to make sure that like resources are saved for the future. And it's clearly like they're reflecting back on the whole shit that Lysander was saying. And Professor is like kind of getting concerned about it, and he's just kind of parroting back what he like had heard before. And the other guy who was arguing for Rose is like, see, even Professor Sycamore thinks that Rose is trying to help humanity. And Professor Sycamore has to be like, whoa, I did not say I supported his actions. He's like, I already dealt with my fucking ex doing the crazy bullshit like this. Why would I personally be supporting Rose at this moment? And it's so funny because they just randomly include that, and then it cuts away. They don't mention that again. So now everyone's squabbling. Now Passio is divided into two sections, as I say, and it is Lear supporters and Rose supporters, because now they're both fucking fighting, and Lear is pissed. Lear is fucking not having it. He's like, oh my god, Rose, what the fuck? Cut to a few days later, and now they're all in Lear's mansion, and Sawyer and Rachel are kind of talking about how people are criticizing Lear now, which I think is fair. I mean, I've had my own criticisms of Lear, of leaving these motherfuckers on the island without like doing anything about them, considering he's the prince and he ultimately has all the power on Passio, so he probably should be doing something about them. But apparently people are criticizing him for the way he has been like quote unquote monopolizing on Singstones, even though he hasn't. Again, I don't think that's the valid criticism that Lear needs to have. Then the whole Galar group, while they're having this conversation, eventually are like, you know what? We want to go change Rose's mind. This Rose has not set off the darkest day yet. We still have hope for him. So we gotta show him that he doesn't need to be alone in trying to put the weight of the future on him, and we can all figure out the whole energy crisis together. So Leon decides that he is going to do some Poke battles based on Singstones to show support for Lear and show that this is truly what they're meant to do. And Rose sees this and is troubled by it because he's like, of fucking course Leon's doing this right now. Of course Leon's going against me. He's kind of just like used to this, and he knew Leon wasn't going to support his action, especially because Rose has been doing the whole, I don't care if I look like a bad person because of this. So he sees this happening and he's like, you know what I have to get more people on my side. So he goes out to the town square and announces some inventions that utilize Singstones. And the rest of the gang sees him doing this announcement and go up to him because they're like, okay, well, this is when we have to like kind of confront him now. And they notice that the science gang is there. The science gang, remember how I said this arc gets cracky? The science gang, as I have dubbed them, it's Volkner, Sophocles, and Clement. We're actually missing one. Oh, I forget the name off the top of his head. He is another blonde boy from Alola. Why is the majority of the science gang blonde guys? I don't know. And Volkner, I don't remember what region he's from. He's from one of the earlier regions. Sophocles is obviously from Alola, and Clement is from Kalos. And they're like, yeah, we're supporting Rose in this case. And Gloria calls them out. She's like, okay, if you guys are supporting Rose and you're gonna build these inventions for him, why don't you guys look happy? And they're kind of all are like, oh, she's kind of right. We really aren't happy doing this. Volkner says, well, Rose kind of has a lot of restrictions on the inventions we're trying to make. And Rose is like, what? I don't put restrictions on you guys. They're like, yes, you do. And then Rose is like, no. I just make sure that every stupid idea you have gets cut out because we do not have time for bullshit. And then Rose says some more crazy bullshit and is like, you see, we don't have time to have them basically be creative. We have to streamline the whole process. And also, I have to use these young people's talents because they're gonna wither away eventually. And then what's gonna happen then when their talents wither away? And it's like, whoa, Rose, I understand you're having an existential crisis. I've dealt with Lysander. I know his whole existential crisis, and I've dealt with you before. You're the first Poe villain I dealt with. Man, please, for the love of God, just take a minute to calm down. We don't need to be talking like this. So after the science gang is like, you know what, Rose? We can't support you anymore. We're not gonna do this. And they did. And Rose is like, fine. And there, Leon finally is like, you know what, Rose? We're both trainers. I'm going to challenge you to a Poke battle, and we'll see which side wins. We'll see if the Lear supporters win, or we'll see if your supporters win. And it'll be a fair, good fight. And Rose agrees, because Rose is still at heart a businessman, and he thinks he's gonna win. I forgot I wrote Hex Maniac jump scare, because in the background behind Rose, it's just Hex Maniac looking there with like a scary face, and I'm like, oh, whoa, girl. Hey, what are you doing here? Anyway, cut randomly to Looker and Victor, and Looker is like, yeah, so Giovanni's the one who's teamed up with Rose. And it's like, okay, fucking obviously the mysterious man who teamed up with Rose was Giovanni. Cut back to the tournament. Leon and Rose are gonna fight, and they're doing it as like a group tournament. Like Leon was like, yeah, I'm gonna show you the power of Sing Stones, and we're gonna have this group tournament. We're gonna have a fair fight. And so the tournament starts, and it starts with the first round, and the Galar kids, this time it's gonna be, it was Marnie, Gloria, and Hop. They all show up, and it's like, okay, there's the good old Galar kids. Who are they gonna fight against? The Team Galactic commanders walk up. The way I was like, what are you guys doing here? They're like, Team Galactic? Aren't you those like troublemakers from Sinnoh? And Saturn's like, whoa. Do not call us troublemakers from Sinnoh. And I'm like, does Cyrus know you guys are here? But they're like, yeah, so we don't actually even give two shits about what Rose wants to do. We only know that if he gets to utilize the Sing Stones, it's going to be able to make more technological advances, which if there's more technological advances, then our group can start doing what we want to do with the Sing Stones and eventually get our whole like new universe thing. And we're only loyal to Cyrus still, and I'm still like, does Cyrus know you guys are here? And so they proceed to have a battle. Obviously Team Galactic fails, and they're like, well, darn, shucks, there goes our chances. But they're like, you know what? We don't really care that much. We didn't really care about Rose anyway. We're here for the technology. And they just dip. And so they go to the second round, and it's Rachel and Sawyer, and I just genuinely can't remember who the third person was. It definitely was a Galar person. Don't fucking remember at this current moment. For Lear's side, and then for Rose's side, again, this arc throws me for a loop because I was not expecting this. It's the Team Magma admins, Courtney and Tabitha and Elena. What is Team Magma doing here? And Courtney's like, we're only here for our boss. And Tabitha's like, yeah, we're only doing this because Maxie wants us to do this. And I'm like, okay, well, thanks for the confirmation that Maxie's the one who wants you guys to do this. Like, we gotta fucking show them. We gotta stand up for Chairman Rose. And Courtney's like, stop bossing me around, Alina. But like, I let Alina boss me around, to be honest. Have you seen Alina? Anyway, besides the point. So they're all there, and they start fighting. And the other side manages to take out Courtney and Tabitha's Pokemon. And they're both kind of like, you know. Courtney especially, because Courtney is Courtney. They're defeated, but Elena's like, no, the fuck. We're not gonna go down to fucking Lear's team. And so she gets all hyped up and angry. She's like, I'm peeved now. And she fucking destroys the other team's Pokemon. And it's like, good for her. Can you do that to me, Olena? So then they're like, okay, this time Rose's team won the second round. So it's now a totally one-on-one battle. The last one chooses who wins, and it's going to show the whole of Passio which side won. Again, whether it's Lear supporters or Rose's supporters. We're gonna find out who wins. So in the third battle, it's Leon, Victor, Lear on Lear's side. And then on Rose's side, it's Rose, obviously. Fucking Maxie, glad you're here, I guess. And Colress. What are you two doing here? Like, okay, I guess we got confirmed Maxie in the last round, but what is Colress doing here? Maxie's like, Team Magma's whole thing is we need to do better for humanity anyway, so that's why we're supporting Rose in this case. And Colress is like, I'm here because I like science, as per usual. So they start their whole battle, you know, and throughout this, Leon is just basically trying to talk to Rose and be like, hey, don't do this, man. And Rose is like, why? We have to stop this whole energy crisis. And Leon's like, man, we have so much time. And Rose is like, no, the fuck we don't. However, throughout the fight, Leon finally does manage to change Rose's mind, because while he's battling Rose Dynamax, but even with his Copperjaw Dynamax, he's not able to defeat Leon. And so Leon's like, see, you don't have to do this alone. If you had a sync bond with Copperjaw, you probably could have beat me, but you didn't because you're not utilizing these in the correct kind of way. And Rose is like, yeah, you know what, you're right. You're right, I should stop this whole thing. And he's like, you know what? I accept my defeat. And he puts Copperjaw back in the Pokeball, and for some fucking reason, Maxie and Colress are both like, yeah, you know what, these kids are right. They both take their Pokemon and put them back in the Pokeballs, and they're like, we're done for. Lear side won in this case. Cool, I guess. You know, they're all happy. They're all like, yay, everything worked out. And Rose is like, I'm gonna take a step back. I'm gonna reevaluate my whole thing with Stink Stones, even though I do still believe that, you know, the energy crisis is gonna happen. Rose again doesn't change really that much. Then it cuts back to the whole weird cavernous bay area, and immediately Gio's fucking pissed. Giovanni comes out of nowhere and is like, because you see Rose standing there, and he's like, Rose, you motherfucker, what the fuck were you thinking going doing that tournament and deciding to stop doing what we had planned this whole time? You're a selfish business partner, Rose. And Rose has this whole line, and it's, to me, this fucking threw me for a loop. He's like, quite the frightening expression you got there. Don't you think that's an unattractive look? And I was like, whoa, Rose. I mean, get his ass, but like, damn. Rose actively said, you're ugly, Giovanni. And so Giovanni gets even more pissed, obviously, and goes off in his whole rant about how what Rose did was selfish to him. And then Rose is like, didn't we plan to betray each other anyway? You definitely had to see this coming a little bit. And Giovanni's like, yes, okay. And it doesn't even matter ultimately because I still got the information I wanted. I can't wait to see you next time when I start causing chaos. And he fucking dips. And I'm just like, oh no. And Rose is like, I mean, I think we should be a little concerned, and Rose probably should have reported on that, but like, okay, you know what, Giovanni's gonna pull some bullshit later. But that's how Rose and Giovanni have a falling out. Anyway, then it cuts back to them doing another little tournament, and this time Rose is running the tournament, but it's like for real, and it's for like just a good time now. And in this, it's just Leon showing off, basically. He's like, here's my Charizard, let's go have some fun. And that's how that arc ends. What a silly arc. Like I said, first time I really felt like things were starting to get like that beautiful Passio crack where all the characters are interacting from a bunch of different regions that you would never thought have interacted or be there in the same room, and I just really appreciate that. But yeah, this is my last one in this location. Next location is gonna be all the way in Ohio. That's gonna be fun. I'm stuck in Ohio. Make your fucking meme jokes. Anyway, that's it for this arc. I don't know if my iPhone mic will pick up on it, but if you hear any grumblies, we're doing a little project out in the garage. So if you hear that, that's just what that is. Just hopefully it's quiet enough in the background that it's not like distracting. Welcome to the most scuffed video ever. Fit check this time is not based around anyone because I don't have any clothes that look like Paulo's. So I originally was just gonna wear something kind of simple. However, I forgot how this arc ends, and then I felt underdressed by just wearing some normal clothes. So we're officially now in my quote-unquote villain gear. It's not really villainous, just how I guess I would want to dress in the Pokemon universe, kind of. I mean, with what I have anyway. But yeah, so that's kind of what we have here. I am wearing like snake earrings though. I don't know if actually you can see. Yeah, there we go. Snake earrings to represent villainry. Yeah, welcome to the Paulo arc. So this one clearly is not based around any region. I think I mentioned it before previously in a different arc that I did not care originally going through this arc. Like, I remember the first time going through it, I was like struggling so hardcore. I'm just like, please just get me away from this kid. But this time I definitely feel like I had a better understanding and also enjoyed it a lot more going through it. So it starts with a training montage of Paulo except it's like weird and eerie because it's him reminiscing on all these times he's battled people, and in some of them he wins, but in most of them he loses. He's like, I gotta get stronger this whole time, and nothing's really breaking him out of this kind of spiral until he hears a voice that's like, hey Paulo, and then he turns around and it's Tina. And who is Tina? I don't know at first either. She's another Pasio only character. She is someone from Paulo's childhood, and she just got here to Pasio, so she's all excited. She's like, oh my god, Paulo, like, hey bestie. So she shows up and is like, hey man, how you doing? And she's kind of the only one right now who's breaking him out of the like, I must get stronger spiral. And like they're kind of having a little chat on like what's been happening on Pasio and like what they do. So Paulo's talking about the PML, and Tina gets really excited because he says he made it to the main tournament but didn't win, obviously. And she's like, wow, that's super cool, man. And she's like, why didn't you take me with you? And he says something that gives me a million fucking questions. He's like, well, I don't really know the criteria to get on Pasio anyway. What do you mean you don't know the criteria to get on Pasio? There's a criteria you have to fit to get on Pasio? How do we... I thought Pasio was just some island that people show up to and are like, have a silly little vacation there, and then things just keep happening because everyone keeps getting pulled out of portals. So I guess if like the majority of people are just getting kind of showing up, there isn't a criteria. But I want to know the criteria. Hey, how do you get on Pasio? So then they just kind of keep chatting about that. Tina's like, hey, you should let me join your team next time when the PML starts. And Paulo is about to tell her no, but guess who shows up? We do. We show up. We're remembered again. The player character gets remembered, which I think I just learned the player's character's name is Scotty. So Scotty shows up. At least the male version is named Scotty. I'm not sure what the female version is named, but we show up again, yay, we're here. And so we kind of have like this whole chat where Paulo's like, yeah, we beat the whole PML and they're like one of the strongest people ever. And Tina's all excited because we're their age in game. And then she noticed that Paulo is getting real emo and getting real serious about it because he's like, I have to get stronger, you know. And she's just like, man, you just need to have some fun. We're here to have a good time. Like, this cannot be that serious. So she notices that. Then Paula's like, yeah, oh, you know what, Tina, you are right. I should just be having some fun. But then immediately he goes into his little inner monologue and is like, is that really what I want? Do I really want to have fun? Do I really not want to get stronger? And it's like, man, come on. This is the funny little Pokemon thing. I know we have evil villains. We'll get to that. However, like, come on, man. Then it cuts to Tina and Paulo having a battle, and they're battling with some random NPCs. And during that battle, there's a whole moment where Paulo starts pushing Rockruff. Like, Rockruff is injured, and if he makes this risky move, Rockruff could faint. But if he still makes that move, he could take out Tina's Flareon, and then they win, even though Rockruff could faint from that move. So his partner, he's the NPC that's like with him, is like, hey man, your Rockruff is definitely injured. Maybe we should like pull back a little bit. And Paulo's like, you know what, I'm gonna take the move. And he takes the risky move and he takes out Tina's Flareon, and Tina's whole team essentially loses, which is cool, silly. But because of that, because Tina's whole team loses, Paulo's like, now hold on. That worked. Paulo, how do you manage to take the wrong thing away from like literally everything? He starts being like, wait a minute, if I take these risky moves, even though my Rockruff was injured, I could win and I could become stronger. This fucking kid, man. Oh, I forgot to mention too, while he's like trying to decide if he should take this move, it cuts to his inner monologue again, and suddenly we see an image of Cyrus, and I'm like, Cyrus, what the heck? And Cyrus goes in his head, that is what it means to think efficiently. An incomplete spirit will only get in the way of making the right choices. Paulo, I know you fought all the evil villains, but you're not supposed to start being like, actually, they might have a point. Anyway, I was just like, oh my god, my Pookie Cyrus. I know I love Cyrus, but like, hey, don't think like him. Don't think like any of these motherfuckers. Then it cuts back to Tina and Paulo later just walking through, and Tina's like, oh, I'm pretty bummed that I lost. Hey, you usually don't let your Rockruff get that injured while battling. I know you're trying a bunch of different strategies, but maybe you should like not do the risky, like your Rockruff can get super injured strategy, because that seems like it's gonna get down a messed up path pretty quickly if you don't. And he's like, well, I won, didn't I, basically? And while they're kind of having this chat, suddenly they see two Team Rocket grunts, and they're like, oh my god, that's Team Rocket. And Tina's like, oh my god, that's Team Rocket. That's who you've been talking about. No, Tybalt fell over. This is so sad. And then the Team Rocket grunts look at them, and one of the Team Rocket grunts recognizes Paulo and is like, hey, you're the kid that wanted to team up with us, aren't you? And Paulo's like, absolutely not. I never said that. And Tina's like, Paulo would never team up with someone like that. And the Team Rocket grunt's like, never say never. And they decide, they're like, you know what? We have to get to this assembly. However, let's battle these kids. Great team you made, Giovanni. So the Team Rocket grunts proceed to battle the children, and while they're battling the children, they get pretty much defeated, and they're like, aw, damn. However, then they hear another voice, and fucking Giovanni shows up. Gio's just like, man, you guys are losing so hard. You're ruining our reputation. I need to fight these children for you guys. So Gio hops into the battle and completely wipes out Tina and Paulo's Pokemon. And then the Team Rocket grunts are like, okay, let's go take these kids' Pokemon now. However, Gio stops them and is like, no, don't take their Pokemon. I only intervened because you were embarrassing us. And then he says, you have matters to attend to that take higher priority than stealing Pokemon from children. Do you not? To his grunts. Bitch, this whole time your whole group has been consistently stealing Pokemon from children. Why is now different? And I know it's because Giovanni wants to manipulate Paulo, and like Paulo starts getting manipulated by this, but also like, sir, your entire team steals Pokemon from children. They steal Pokemon from fucking babies. Like, you cannot start being like, don't you have matters to attend to that are not stealing children's Pokemon? Your whole team is built off of that. Anyway, then Giovanni has a whole little thing where he's like, the only way to get stronger is to be by getting more powerful. That's why you guys lost, because you guys aren't as powerful. And Paulo was like, actually, he might be right about that. And Tina's like, no, the fuck, what? So now Paulo thinks he just needs to get a shit ton of power so he can be the strongest trainer ever. And Tina's like, bro, I just got here. Why did I get dragged into all of this? Then it cuts to Paulo battling and training in the woods. And he has all these like really big, like strong Pokemon. I know Gyarados is one, and Hydreigon is another. And I think it's Tyranitar, if I remember how to pronounce it correctly. He's training with all these Pokemon, and Tina comes up and is like, oh hey, did you make some new friends with these Pokemon? And Paulo's like, no, the fuck? I just got these from Lear. Lear's just loaning out Pokemon, I guess. And Tina's like, that's kind of odd, but okay. He's like, this is the only way I can get stronger. I can't have bonds with my Pokemon anymore. And she's like, well, what about Rockruff? Rockruff is your partner Pokemon, and clearly you really love Rockruff. And he's like, I'm not training with Rockruff anymore. And Tina's like, Paulo, come on, man. That's fucked up. He's like, Rockruff will always lose. Then, suddenly, they hear another voice being like, bonds with Pokemon don't necessarily see good and evil. And they're like, huh? And they turn, and fucking Colress comes out of nowhere. Hey man. Then Colress goes on like a whole tiny rant about his research of bonds, and then Looker suddenly shows up and is like, Colress, you were not supposed to leave my side. And Colress is just like, okay man. And they're like, hey, what's happening here? Looker's like, oh, so Team Rocket has been trying to get like professors and people like Colress who they have this specialized research so they can use it for themselves. And so Looker's like, so I've been kind of just following him around and protecting him. Amazing. I love that Colress just keeps wandering off though. Then Colress talking about his research because they're like, hey, what did you mean by bonds don't have a good and evil distinction? And so Colress is like, oh cool, I get to talk about this. This is my silly little research. And he's like, I believe there's no distinction between good and evil when dealing with connections of the heart. Then Colress goes on another whole little rant about how he says Pokemon don't have as complex thoughts as people do, which I think is real debatable, Colress. I think it's super debatable, but okay. He just yaps about how, like, not only do Pokemon will follow the commands of evil doers because they're still their trainer and they're still bonded by their hearts, but also how humans have different complex relationships. And it shows a bunch of different trainers, and it even shows like Lucamine and her family and how like all their different bonds are different from each other. It could be family, it could be rivalry, it could be evil doing, it could be, you know, all these different things, but everything is essentially different and it's not necessarily good or evil. And Paulo, of course, takes the complete wrong thing away from this, where instead of it being like, oh, well, the evildoers, maybe technically speaking, they have some good in them because they're able to bond with these Pokemon, Paulo takes it as, I don't need a bond for my Pokemon because it doesn't even matter if I do evil things, it won't matter to the Pokemon as long as I get stronger. Then after he's thinking this internally, Looker's like, hey, there's kind of only one of me, and there's two of you guys, and also, I'm a part of the International Police. I need to be working on all of the other units of dealing with the horrible little organizations around Pasio. Can you guys bodyguard Colress? And they're both like, look at each other and are like, yeah, I mean, I don't see why not. Colress is just there like, gonna keep doing my research, I'm wandering off. But yeah, so now Paulo and Tina are both Colress's bodyguards, which I think is pretty silly. Cut to Colress, Paulo, and Tina walking up to Blue, Lear, and Sharon. And they all start having a conversation about how Paulo is getting stronger and kind of just start talking to each other about different like training aspects and all this. And then Paulo has an inner monologue where he's like, basically, it doesn't matter what it will take for me to get stronger, I will do anything. And then it shows Archie and Maxie staying true to your beliefs. Archie and Maxie core, I guess. I will say, this part of the art is very interesting because you get to basically see all of the different villains' beliefs. So you first started with Cyrus's whole thing of human spirit gets in the way, and now it's like, I will stick to my strong beliefs with Archie and Maxie since they're both very strong on like, expand the water, expand the land. So I do think that is genuinely pretty fun. Then Paulo's like, yeah, so I'm gonna get stronger no matter what, to Sharon. And Sharon's like, don't do that. Sharon starts being like, hey man, you really should not do that. That is not a good thing for you to like, a path for you to end up down. That is how you become evil. And so Sharon starts trying to talk him out of it. However, they get interrupted by some random goer and being like, hey, the Team Rocket's causing chaos in the city. And Lear's like, are you fucking serious? Sawyer and Rachel are out dealing with Team Break members, and Team Rocket now has to be causing chaos out in the city. We're all spread thin, I guess. How are you spread thin? Every single sync pair, every single person apparently exists on Pasio. How are you spread thin? How big is And on top of that, they say Team Rocket's after Professor Bellis again. Can Professor Bellis not protect herself? I know professors are not good at Poke battling for the most part. However, girl, you gotta learn how to do something if Team Rocket members are gonna keep kidnapping you. So Paulo decides to take it all on himself and is like, I'll go stop the Team Rocket members. And then Paulo dips, and then Tina goes after Paulo, and then Sharon and Blue are like, deliberating and being like, well, we probably should go do that together. But Sharon blames himself for not noticing that Paulo was kind of spiraling, which, Sharon, that's not your job. I know you're a teacher, but also, like, it's not your fault that Paulo was spiraling and you didn't notice. He's like, I blame myself because I was dealing with so many evildoers. Lovingly, the evildoers were probably were probably a bigger threat than dealing with this kid spiraling at this current moment. No offense to Paulo. But then they're like, you know what, let's go stop Professor Bellis, then we'll go find Paulo and we'll try and talk him out of this. And then Lear's like, yeah, okay, sounds good. And then he's like, so Hoopa, and looked around, and Hoopa fucking dipped. Hoopa went to go get Paulo because Paulo's reminding Hoopa of how Lear was when he first started and felt like he couldn't trust anyone. But it's so funny that Lear turns around and is like, hey, where's Hoopa? And Hoopa's just gone. So then it cuts to us, and Tina runs up to us and is like, hey, have you seen Paulo anywhere? And we're like, no, we haven't seen Paulo all day. And she's like, damn it, he kind of ran off to deal with some Team Rocket members. And I'm a little worried about him because he's getting really serious, and I think it has to do with something from our past. And Colress comes up and is like, hey, can you trauma dump on me? Hey, can you tell me what happened in the past? And Tina's like, oh, yeah, sure. Yeah, man, I can explain what happened to us in the past. And Tina explains that when they were younger, they were taking care of this Dratini. It was before they were trainers, so once they became trainers, they planned to become trainers for this Dratini. And out of nowhere, this random ass guy comes up and forcibly catches the Dratini, and the kids are freaking out. They're like, hey, that's ours, we're training it. I know we're just babies, but like we're training this Dratini. And he's like, you don't get the right to say what I do with a wild Pokemon. And it's like, oh god, this is not gonna be good, is it? Then they're like, but that's not fair. They're like, well, can you at least like take care of it for us? And he's like, no. Oh no, oh no. And they're like, what do you mean no? You just caught this Pokemon. Why would you catch it if you don't want to take care of it? And he's like, the Dratini skins sell for a really good price. Now, I'm not saying those kids' Pokemon got stolen by a Pokemon poacher, but I'm pretty sure that man was a poacher, and I think that Dratini's dead. I think that man skinned that Dratini. So obviously the kids are kind of mortified and super upset, and this guy just fucking dips after that. And so Paulo's like, well, that guy was right about one thing, is we have to get stronger because we couldn't beat him because we're tiny children. So then it cuts back to the present, and Tina's like, I think that's what making Paulo so upset is because he's gotten super hyper focused on being stronger since then. And Colress is like, huh, interesting. Why didn't that happen with you, Tina? And Tina's like, well, on one of my travels, I visited a Pokemon graveyard, and I realized that I need to be creating memories with my Pokemon more than dealing with them getting stronger, because that's the real point of having Pokemon, is to have memories and go on fun and little adventures. Colress is like, cool, thank you for the research. After we get done with that, Tina looks at us and Colress and is like, can you help me with Paulo? I want to get him out of this spiral, and if you guys help me, then I feel like we can all do it together, because he's not gonna listen to me anymore, but if it's all of us, he's gonna listen. And we all agree. And then it cuts to Team fucking Plasma. So, for some context, Hoopa was in an alleyway looking for Paulo, and Team Plasma hops out of nowhere and is like, Hoopa, you're coming with us. And Paulo shows up and is like, Hoopa, what are you doing here? And also takes out the Team Plasma members and is like, you were about to get stolen by those Team Plasma members. We need to get you back to Lear. But before that can happen, it cuts back to Tina, and Tina is kind of just like walking around and at night, and suddenly the Shadow Triad hops out of nowhere and is like, you're coming with us, Tina. And Tina's like, I'm not gonna go down quietly. And so she starts fighting the Shadow Triad, and no, it's only 2 members of the Shadow Triad. However, it doesn't work out, and they capture her and they take her back to the base. And then it cuts back to Paulo, who's trying to get Hoopa back to Lear. However, before he can, the last Shadow Triad member hops out and is like, by the way, we have Tina. We will exchange Tina for Hoopa. You just have to come with us. Kidnapping children! That's fine! Thank you, Getsus, you motherfucker! Anyway, then we cut to Getsus jump scare. And he's there, and he's like, let's get this trade done, as Paulo and the Shadow Triad. And he already has Tina with the other members of the Shadow Triad. So they start going to trade each other. Paulo was trying to figure out how to stop like this trade from happening because he's like, I will not let Hoopa or Tina be taken. But while they're about to like do this trade-off, Getsus is like, nah, fuck you kids. I need both of you as leverage for the other trainers on Pasio and also Hoopa. Average gets this moment, am I right? Now Getsus is attacking Paulo, so Paulo won't refuse to be taken away from him. Then it quickly cuts back to Blue, Erica, Misty, Sharon, and Looker, and they're all looking for us, and they're like, oh god, where did Paulo go? That cannot be good. They're also like, where did Hoopa go? That can also not be good. But then it cuts back to Getsus and Paulo and Tina and the Shadow Trio. So Getsus is managing to beat Paulo and all of his Pokemon. However, suddenly Rockruff pops out of his Pokeball and starts fighting Kyurem for Paulo. And Getsus is like, what the? Who is this stupid, weak little Pokemon right there? This stupid dog Pokemon. Who is this puppy at my feet? I thought he was gonna kick Rockruff. Like, though, I mean, it's canon that, like, Getsus will kick a Pokemon, but, like, I was, like, worried this man was gonna kick a puppy right in front of you. But he's just insulting this poor dog, and this dog is, like, trying so hard to beat Kyurem, which is not something this poor dog can do. Kyurem is a legendary Pokemon. Nice try, Rockruff. And Paulo's like, Rockruff, stop, you're gonna get injured, you're gonna get hurt. And he clearly still cares about his Rockruff. Then Getsus like, fuck you, tiny Pokemon, and proceeds to use Kyurem and blast Rockruff. And it cuts, and Paulo's like looking around for Rockruff, and is like, where did my silly little dog go? And then Getsus is like, it looks like Kyurem's blast powers were able to blast Rockruff away into nothing. Did Getsus kill a dog in front of us? That's the worst fucking sin Getsus ever. Fuck you, Getsus. I mean, spoiler warning, Rockruff is fine, but also, like, can you imagine you're fighting a guy and he proceeds to blast your dog away into nothingness? Crazy. So this proceeds to push Paulo completely over the edge, which honestly, fair. If my dog got blasted into nothing, that would push me over the edge. And he makes a forcible sync pair with Hoopa and forces Hoopa into his true form, which Colbress had mentioned beforehand that yes, Hoopa has a true form, but it doesn't mean it's going to be the most powerful then, because it doesn't want to be in that form and is content being in its tiny little small form. And so now Hoopa's in its like scary form, and he starts attacking Getsus's ass. And while he's attacking Getsus, this motherfucker pulls out Xerneas, Yveltal, and Zygarde. He said he was getting this Pokemon lent out from Lear. Lear, how did you get those Pokemon? Is this another situation where there was like two Kyurems? There's two Xerneas, Yveltals, and Zygardes? Also, if you have those Pokemon, can you like take those away? Can you take some of those Pokemon away from, can you like take Yveltal away from Lysander? Just like a thought. Anyway, besides the point. So he starts defeating Getsus, and Getsus is like, no, this cannot be fucking happening. And it's implying that he's about to get beat a fourth time by children. But he does manage to get defeated. And Paulo has a little moment where he yells at Getsus. He says, I decided to drive every person like you out of the world. And I'm like, I'm like, something about that is A, familiar, and B, not a good thing. Why is that ringing bells? You'll never guess. So Getsus gets defeated, and Tina, who's been there this whole time watching Paulo rampage, runs up to Paulo and is like, hey, we should probably go look for Rockruff. And Paulo is like, we're not gonna look for Rockruff. Rockruff is not worth it to look for. And she's like, hey man, that was your partner Pokemon. There's no way he's dead. Kind of fucked up that you're willing to just be like, oh, I don't care about my dog anymore. Like, and so she gets kind of mad, and then he's like, Hoopa, send her away. And so quickly he does that, and then he decides to dip after that too, and proceeds to think again, and in his mind we suddenly see Lysander, and I'm like, oh no. Oh no. Remember how I said that thing was familiar before? And in his head he thinks, I'll use it to drive the selfish people who only steal from everyone else out of the world to enforce what I believe in. Paulo, 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 oh, Paulo, oh god. You're falling into Lysander's ideology? That's the worst fucking ideology you could probably fall into. And then Paulo's like, I'll become the last evil. And this is all before he sends Tina away. And Tina's like, you fucking idiot, do not become the last evil. Even if you're fighting everyone else and fighting all these evil people and manage to defeat them, it's gonna get, like, fucked up if you become the most evil person just so all the other evildoers can't do evil-doing things. Cut to Team Break, who's just kind of, like, doing things, and Paulo goes up to them, like, smiling and being, like, a charming little kid and is like, you guys should join me so we can go defeat all the other evildoers. And they're like, no, the fuck, why would we do that? And Paulo's like, well, you see, you guys have no goals now. Your whole thing was to take over the PML. PML's not happening. You guys got nothing to do. And then the Team Break people are like, you know what? Why not? We might as well. He's kind of right on that. Let's go. And so they join up with them and proceed to start fighting all of the other evildoer teams. And they say in the game, they're like, because Team Break is trying to take down all the evildoers, but also, like, they cut and show that they're also taking down the Aether Foundation, which, as we know, the Aether Foundation is doing fine and good. Like, they're not doing evil things. So it's causing a copious amounts of chaos because they're not determining who's the, like, real evil people. So anyone who stands in their way is just getting kind of blasted through. Then it cuts to us, Blue, Sharon, Looker, Colress, and Tina, and they're all discussing like, oh shit, what do we do about Paulo? This is not good. And so they're trying to figure it all out, and they're like, oh god, oh fuck. And then we cut to Archie and Maxie, and I was like, oh, there they are. It's been a little bit. Hey bosses. And Archie and Maxie are also discussing what to do about Paulo, because they're like, hey, we need to talk about this kid who's fighting our organizations. Again, Team Magma and Team Aqua currently have a truce, and they are also not doing evil things. And then Maxie's like, you know, this sounds familiar, doesn't it? That he's so strongly on his beliefs that he is going to take out everyone else kind of around him. It's basically implied that it's like, he's like us. He's like us. And I'm like, oh cool, you know, like, that's fine, it's Archie and Maxie. Then it cuts to Cyrus, and Cyrus, I feel like, has probably the funniest reaction, because he's like, this kid is letting his emotions get to him, and is fighting our team because he's letting his emotions get to him. I think we should study him. What? What do you mean you think you should study him, Cyrus? I mean, his team is getting attacked too, and he's just like, yeah, we should, like, figure out this kid. We should figure out this kid to figure out our next move. It's like, awesome, Cyrus. That's definitely gonna be helpful. So then it cuts to Getsus, and Getsus is just pissed. He's like, I need to kill this kid. I need to take on this kid. He ruined our fucking plans. Like, Getsus is full on pissed. And then the craziest thing happens. Another I write in all caps moment. So because we're going in clear order, besides Giovanni, the next one is gonna be Lysander. And it cuts to him, and I'm like, oh cool, right? And he's like, thank you, Lusamine, for your time. And I'm like, what do you mean, thank you, Lusamine, for your time? And then it cuts to Lusamine, and she's like, what do you want me here for? Lysander, he's like, we need to talk about the whole situation with Paulo. Also, like, they just let Lysander out of the woods, I guess. I guess he's cool and chill back in society. And then he's like, also, we're gonna be having this man join us. And it turns, and Chairman Rose walks up. And Lusamine's like, oh, you're Galars. They all made an alliance. Team Flower exists. Team Flower is here and real. This is what got me back into this hyperfixation, actually, was the whole Team Flower thing. I had randomly seen a post about how all the alliances of the bosses at the end of the villain arc, because I hadn't played Pokemon in a little bit, and I saw Lysander, Rose, and Lusamine were all acquainted with each other. Do I have to emphasize how fucking bad that is? That is not a team that, like, even remotely anyone should be, like, fucking around. Jesus Christ. three evil CEOs. You know, you got the man that wants to kill everyone, you got the guy that's trying to stop the energy crisis, and you got woman with beauty issues. Crazy team up. It still never fails to make me laugh. Oh, Tybalt's falling. He's covering it. I mean, look at this. Besties. Best of buds, I guess. Tybalt, stay up. Goober? My goober does not want to stay up today. Okay, well, he's just gonna lay there now. And then it cuts back to Paulo, and he's finally like, I will become the last evil, because now he's become super strong since he's attacking all the other bosses' teams, and all the other bosses' teams are kind of whittling away going into team break. And so, yeah, it just ends with him being like, I am going to become the last evil. And that's it. That's the end of this arc. That's pretty funny, silly, am I right? It was literally just a kid going through his whole emo arc, and then he just kind of is becoming the most evil person ever, I guess. But yeah, this arc definitely enjoyed a lot more the second time going around. I didn't enjoy it the first time going around, but that was because the first time I did it, I was very much like, I just need to see the bosses. I need to understand what this alliance is. And the fear I had when Lusamine, Lysander, and Rose teamed up. Anyway, we'll get more to that whole little team up, and we'll get more to the other bosses in the final chapter. But yeah, that's it for this one. Yippee. If they fall over, I'm just not gonna fix them. I will put them in a different location. Sorry, gang. Fit check, but nothing really that new. Just same pink jacket. I just did some more funny little makeup stuff to kind of represent Team Rainbow Rocket. I'm also wearing rainbow socks. How do I do this without showing my feet? Rainbow socks are happening. I promise. I don't want to do that. I promise you I'm wearing rainbow socks. You're just gonna have to trust me on that one. But yeah, we're back into it, and we kind of pick off right where we left off. We start with Team Aqua and Team Magma both fighting Paulo, and while they're fighting Paulo, they say what I've been saying, which is like, hey man, like, we're not doing any evil stuff. Like, Team Aqua and Team Magma were both like, hey, our bosses changed their whole policies. We're not doing anything evil at this current moment. Paulo's like, well, you guys have two choices. You either abandon your team and abandon your bosses, or you join Team Break and you join my group. That is not a good deal. And they're like, that's not a fucking good deal. You want us to abandon our bosses? We're not gonna betray our bosses. And so then Paulo's like, fine, whatever. And he, you know, beats him up. And then it cuts to us, Brendan, Rosa, and Gloria all show up. We're all concerned, you know, with like what Paulo has been doing. And so we start trying to convince him to like change his mind and not do like the whole like become the last evil thing, because that's like fucked up. And then while we're trying to talk him down like out of the whole like spiral, has this moment where he mentions that if no one else like deal with these evildoers, he has to be the only one who deals with them. And right as he says that, Gloria has a flashback to Rose, and she's like, holy shit, I've heard this before. This is Chairman Rosie, right? Yapping back at me, talking about how he's the only one who can deal with like the future stuff. We hear another person shout, and quickly Paulo's like, well, it's not worth it to try and, you know, like beat them or anything. We're already kind of weak from the Team Aqua and Team Magma grunts that have now dipped because they saw us coming, and they were like, okay, we can escape. Paulo, like a true Pokey villain, proceeds to dip out on us and leaves. You've achieved official Pokey villainhood, which is dipping out at the most important moments. So Serena, Dawn, and Ethan all show up, and we all kind of group up and proceed to start being like, hey, what are we gonna do about Paulo? We gotta like help him. And Ethan's like, you know what? I still want to be rivals with him. He reminds me a lot of Silver. because I mentioned it before, him and Silver did go through a whole kind of like similar arc of like, I need to be the strongest trainer. Paulo's kind of taking it a little bit more in the sense of like becoming the last evil kind of situation. Everyone starts to kind of agree, and then I just have to point out what Serena says, because I remember the first time reading this, I straight up was like, Serena would not say that. I now, after playing through Pokemon X, think she probably would, but I still feel like weird about this line. Serena starts talking about how no one should have the weight of the world on their shoulders. You know, kind of like like what Lysander's trying to do, put the whole weight of the world on his shoulders. But because of that, she then proceeds to have the line, I don't want anyone else to experience the kind of sadness Professor Sycamore and Lysander felt. Perfect world shippers, eat your heart out with that line. My first thought seeing it was Serena would not say that, but debatable if she would or not. I like I said, I think now she might say that, but I can see why she would say a line like that. My second thought was like, wait a minute, the sadness Professor Sycamore and Lysander felt. Why is Sycamore so sad, huh? Why is he so sad? Is he kind of in love with that freak of a man? The answer is yes. I also forgot to mention Tina also showed up with the rest of the group. So they turn to the player character and Tina and are like, you guys are the only ones who can at this point get through to Paulo, so you guys gotta go do that. And we agree because he's our friend. Cut to Team Galactic getting their asses kicked. Like, those poor Team Galactic grunts. What did they do? They didn't do anything to deserve that. And while Paulo is beating these Team Galactic grunts, he proceeds to have a line about how, who is the one who's causing all the trouble? Team Rocket. I need to go beat up Team Rocket. And so he decides to go after Team Rocket now because Giovanni's, you know, the ultimate evil at this current moment. And Giovanni, of course, gets wind of that Paulo's about to make his move. And so he's like, all right, time for us to make our move too. Cut to a giant battle in the middle of town where now Team Rocket members and Team Break members, and they're all just fighting each other, and it's all hell is breaking loose, and the international police show up and they're like, oh fucking hell. They are not having a good time with what's going on, and they're like trying desperately to stop, but they like immediately get taken out. Cut to Giovanni and Paulo actually talking and Gio actually offers to join forces with Paulo, so they become like the ultimate most powerful person. And Gio has a line where he says, by joining forces, you can create a world without evil. That's what you want, right? But Paulo's like, bitch, I know you, Giovanni. I know your whole shit. I know you're a selfish man. You're just gonna betray me eventually. You just want the most power to betray me. So he's like, I hate your way of thinking the most, which is being extremely selfish. I hate that kind of thinking. So I refuse your offer. I am not taking that offer. And Gio's like, damn, that's pretty silly. Hey, Hoopa, this guy ain't powerful as I am. Hoopa, you should come join my side. And Hoopa's like, yeah, alright. And Gio proceeds to make a sync pair with Hoopa because Hoopa was just like, yeah, having this silly little rampage, and Gio can apparently control rampaging Pokemon super well, so Hoopa's like, yeah, sure, I'll join Giovanni. Why not? And because of this, because Gio now controls Hoopa, Team Break sees Paulo's basically got nothing, and Team Break's like, you know what, why not? Let's join Team Rocket too. So Paulo's like, oh fuck, I got nothing again, and Gio's basically just manipulating the whole time, being like, see, if you were actually a strong trainer, if you were actually like a strong leader in an organization, you would have noticed that I could have taken advantage of Hoopa and stolen him right out from under your nose. And Giovanni proceeds to do what Giovanni does best and dip. Then us and Tina show up again and are like, hey Paulo, how you doing? But before we can like have the whole conversation with us and Tina, it cuts back to Giovanni, and he proceeds to use Hoopa to cause even more chaos. He proceeds to use all the legendaries to defeat all the other trainers on Paseo so he can, you know, get the most power, so he could be the most powerful. Cut to Looker, Tina, and Paulo all at the Pokemon Center. Looker starts to kind of have this pep talk with Paulo where he's like, you know, I know you made like some mistake. You can't be down and depressed right now because Team Rocket is literally everywhere and capturing literally every single place we got, and basically we have bigger fish to fry, and I know that you are very sad and depressed right now because you got defeated by Giovanni and you did all this horrible bad stuff, but like, come on, man. Then suddenly Professor Oak, hey Professor Oak, where have you been? And us show up. And Professor Oak and Paulo have a heart-to-heart where Oak's like, I remember my grandson was kind of the same way, where all he wanted was to become super strong and he couldn't understand why he'd lost. And I know that's kind of what you're going through right now, but you know, like, you're a child, you'll make mistakes, but since you're still a kid, you can make a bunch of mistakes, but you're gonna be okay. You just need to own up to it. And during this, Paulo's kind of like, yeah, that's great. However, like, I can't even go back to being my Rockruff's trainer because my Rockruff might be dead and I didn't even go back to see if my Rockruff was dead. But Tina's like, man, you fucking big idiot, you big dummy, Paulo. You know, Rockruff is perfectly fine. And then out of the distance, here comes Rockruff having a silly little fun time, and he's like all good and happy, and the Pokemon Center ladies are all like, yeah, Tina found him and he was like super injured, but he's all healed now. And Tina's like, yeah, Hoopa must have used the last of its powers before it got taken over to save Rockruff. And it's like, oh cool, yay, your dog's alive, good job, Paulo. And so Paulo, you know, kind of has like a little breakdown where he's like, I'm so sorry, Rockruff, I really should have like gone after you. But Rockruff still decides to be by Paulo's side even throughout all that because Rockruff loves him, and that's so cute. Then Tina explains that they got a device from Colress that should be able to revert Hoopa back to its original forms, and then they can stop Giovanni. And as Paulo, Tina, and the player character are all forming this plan and being like, yeah, we'll go get Giovanni, we'll have to beat some Team Rocket members. Team Rocket members break through the windows and are like, let's take over this Pokemon Center. And so Professor Oak is like, not in a chance. And they're like, man, you're like 80 years old, you cannot fight those guys. And then all the three Pokemon Center ladies are like, don't worry about it, we got it too, we'll help Professor Oak. Anyway, we all dip out into the forest and we meet up with Blue, Red, and Leaf. However, immediately Paulo notices that something's off about them, and so Paulo looks at Blue, who's like, hey, we already dealt with those Team Rocket members, we're throwing this big party. And Paulo's like, is Professor Oak there? Blue is like, oh yeah, Professor Oak is obviously there, like, we're having the greatest party ever. And Paulo's like, we just left Professor Oak, I caught you, bitch, I got you. And the blue imposter's like, damn it. And then cut reveal, throw off the disguise, is Petrol, my stupid, is back, and two other Team Rocket grunts. And then while Petrol's going like that, damn it, you caught me, Proton approaches and is like, Petrol, you fucking idiot. We should have gone like just straight forward and captured these kids. Why did you do this whole disguise thing? It didn't work out. And Petrol's like, you know, we tried. We win some, we lose some. Then while this is happening, they hear a voice in the distance and Archie and Maxie show up. Oh my god, the bosses, the whole reason I'm here and sitting here and playing through this arc. They finally show up again. God, where have the bosses been? This feels like it's been so long. And Archie and Maxie basically have the most parental moment with Paulo where they're like, yeah, we get it. We have been there before with having like the super strong beliefs, and we were going to like kind of imply stop team break, maybe beat you up a little. We're gonna have a talking to about your whole situation, but because now Team Break is basically a part of Team Rocket and Team Rocket's currently the bigger threat, we're not gonna do that. Plus, clearly, you have the look that you understand what you did was wrong now, which is so parental core of them. Those guys are my dads, my evil dads. And they're like, yeah, so we put our differences aside, and right now our only goal is to save Passio. Yay! I love my evil dad. Oh, and Maxie has this line to one of the Team Rocket members where he's like, you become the common enemy, one that transcends ideals and beliefs. Which is just crazy that you got Archie and Maxie to stop fighting because Team Rocket was doing so much stuff. If you know in lore, that is crazy to get them to stop fighting. So then they both look at all of us and are like, okay, you guys gotta go. We'll get them from here. And they start fighting Team Rocket members. And then there's a line where Maxie starts with, you heard the man, Archie. Please don't make an embarrassment of yourself. And then Archie says, psh, right back at ya. Don't go messing up things up on my watch. And I'm like, wow, they're so married. Cut to more Team Rocket members setting up an ambush, and they're like, haha, this ambush is gonna be so great. And you know, they're kind of doing their little evil schemes. And then all of a sudden, Cyrus, my Pookie shows up, and he like walks up and is like, huh. Not kidding, they make his model sigh. And they're like, what the fuck are you doing here? And Cyrus is with his admins, and they all start distracting and fighting the Team Rocket members. And Cyrus is like, as much as I don't want to be helping these kids, and I have so many better things to do, I'm gonna help them because fuck you guys, Team Rocket. You're causing too much chaos and you messed with my plan. And so the Team Rocket grunts see us run past and they're like, wait, huh? And Cyrus is like, you guys aren't gonna stop them, and proceed to just fight him more. Amazing, amazing. Thank you, Cyrus. You're so real for that. Then cut to N and Colress fighting more Team Rocket members somewhere else in the ruins. Because, you know, Getsus isn't going to. But while they're fighting the Team Rocket members, randomly N's like, I can hear that these legendary Pokemon are being controlled and don't want to do this and are being affected by Hoopa's rampage. And Colress turns to him and is like, you just confirmed that you can speak to Pokemon. And N's like, yeah, I guess I can kind of do that. It's, you know, it's whatever. And Colress is like, awesome. I need to study you. And it's like, whoa, Colress. Colress is such a man, you know? And he kind of starts rambling off about how he's like, fascinating. We need to like research this and figure out all these different things. And then N's like, you know, maybe this is not the time. We're kind of fighting Team Rocket members. And so they quickly go back to fighting Team Rocket members. And oh, I wrote down a line from one of the Team Rocket grunts because I feel like it encapsulates what this entire video is going to be. And it's, hey, quit your yapping. What are you making all that noise about over there? Is that not this video? This video is just me yapping for way too long. Then we cut to Alina and Lusamine, which is, I was like, Team Flowers, didn't we have a Team Flower team up? I guess this is what's happening. I guess she's chilling with the ladies now. And they're fighting Ariana, which is like, this is getting so sapphic. Then like they're kind of starting to like get defeated by Ariana, and then Malva shows up and quickly pushes Ariana back. I wrote in my notes, this is the most sapphic group possible. They are the toxic sapphic group. I mean, I know Malva's probably a lesbian. Look at her. Alina's probably also a lesbian. Lusamine can be a little bisexual, you know? She's allowed to be that. But this is the most sapphic group I think ever. Like the way I headcanon Lusamine as straight, this is changing my mind. This little group is changing my mind because Lusamine looks at Malva and goes, thank you for the help. It's reassuring to have an Elite Four member on our side. My point about it being the most sapphic team stands because is Malva an Elite Four member? Is she also part of Team Flare? Yes, she's also a part of the freaks that want to kill everyone. you gotta be a little gay if you're like, wow, amazing, Malva. And then, like, after this, Alina, like, side-eyes Malva and is like, gets pissed. She's like, well, now I'm really peeved, and now we're gonna really take down Ariana. And Malva, like, has a little emote of, like, a sweat go down, because she's just like, what the fuck? Because Alina's, you know, pissed face is very silly. And then Lusamine's like, don't make that face. Don't make that face, Alina. Also, be nice to them. I don't think she's the one we need to worry about being nice. We have the woman who's on the team that wants to kill everyone. If anyone wants to be nice, it needs to be nice. It probably might be Malva. I know Malva won't kill people because that's beneath her, but like, still, I just find it so funny. It kind of low-key gives off like jealous sapphic couple. This is the sapphic polycule and Pokemon. Sorry, can't change my mind. Then it cuts to Team Skull and Team Yell, which also Piers and Marnie because Team Yell. And they're proceeding to fight off more Team Rocket members in like the main part of the town, since everyone else is kind of in the woods. Also, Alina, Lusamine, and Malva were all on the beach. Which, again, to think about it, this makes Passio seem small. But I know Passio cannot be that small. So say it with me again, guys. How big is Passio? A question we will never have the answer to, by the way. But yeah, it's so nice to see Team Skull and Team Yell all working together, and they're both like hyping each other's gang up. So like Team Skull is like, yeah, go Marnie, can I be your biggest fan? And yeah, Piers. And then Team Yell are like, yeah, go Plumeria, go Guzma. And it's so cute and sweet, and they're having like this little bonding moment where they're like, this feels so good to be cheered up and like get into it. And like, I feel like I can really battle these people now, and so they do even better and keep fighting those guys. Cut back to En and Colress, which like, this fucking moment, man. So En and Colress are like starting to kind of lose, and they're kind of getting like they're kind of getting their asses kicked a little bit. Then we hear another voice, and I'm like, that's Rose. I know who Rose is with. And Rose and Lysander show up to help Colress and En. I said in my notes too, Rose had to team up with Lysander because someone needed to keep him wrangled. All I'm saying. And then like the Team Rocket grunts and all that like look at Rose and Lysander and they're like, you guys are gonna help them? And Rose is like, I can't leave the future of Passio to people like you. And Lysander's like, agreed. Because you know they both got issues with the future. And then Lysander says, your ugliness is interfering with the chosen ones who will decide the future of the world. And I wrote, right now, Lysander, right now you're gonna start doing that? You're gonna start yapping that shit? You're gonna start yapping it right the fuck now? We have Team Rocket members to defeat. You're gonna start yapping about how the chosen ones need to choose the future? Why is he like this? Why is he so like that? Why did Professor Sycamore want to kiss this man? And then no one addresses that. And En and Colress are like, okay, cool, let's fight these guys. And so they go back to fighting. Then we switch back and we see us again. So that's Paulo, Tina, and the player character. And we all figure out where Giovanni is supposed to be. And we're almost there. However, Team Rocket members and Archer all hop out. And Archer's like, you guys aren't ever getting up to Giovanni. I can't let that happen. You wanna know who shows up? So Ghetsis shows up. Ghetsis, the man who hurt Rockruff and also could have killed him. Ghetsis, the man who actively abuses Pokemon and children. Okay, cool, he's here now. And Ghetsis like immediately starts by saying, I truly despise anyone who interferes with the plan I made. And it's like, oh god, what is Ghetsis doing? And so Archer's like, wait, so you're helping this kid, but that doesn't help you? And then Ghetsis fucking says, because I refuse to let that man succeed with my plan. Ghetsis, why are you as a man thinking about Giovanni so much? why are you as a man thinking about another man so much? But then he proceeds to help us and is like, okay, go forward, kids, as he starts fighting Archer and the other Team Rocket members. So finally we get to Giovanni. And while we're there, Giovanni's like, you know, I'm a strong trainer, you're a strong trainer. While during this fight, Paulo proceeds to start owning up to like all the mistakes he's made. I wasn't a good partner to Rockruff, and you know, I fucked up by following this path, but I want to follow a new path, and my new path is to have the heart bond with my Pokemon and with connections with people instead of like doing this all by force. Because, you know, Giovanni was like, what are you still having connections with people in Pokemon? You fucking child having hope. But yeah, so Paulo says all that, and then after he says all that, Rockruff evolves into Lion Rock. His Pokemon evolves because it loves him so much. After this, Giovanni's like, wait, how did Lion Rock just evolve? And then he's like, you know what, fuck you, I can still beat you. And so he Dynamaxes his Nidoking, and then somehow Paulo Dynamaxes his Lion Rock. I don't know why he couldn't Dynamax his Rockruff. I mean, I know Dynamaxing can just work on any Pokemon, whether evolved or not, but cool. His Lion Rock is Dynamaxed, and then proceeds to take out his Nidoking, and Giovanni's like, no, not again. I'm getting defeated by children. While Nidoking is distracted by Lion Rock, and Lion Rock keeps kind of like tearing at, we scream like, now. And Tina manages like to quickly have her Flareon go up, distract them again, and then like quickly gets the device on Hoopa, and Hoopa quickly changes back, and we're like, hey Hoopa, hi Hoopa, you're a tiny little guy again, please join us, please join us, please join us. And Hoopa immediately goes to our side. Giovanni's like, fucking damn it, and gets a call and is like, well, that's what I thought. And so when Hoopa got turned back into his silly little small form, all the legendary Pokemon that Hoopa had been bringing, which by the way, I forgot to mention, the reason why Paulo had like Xerneas, Yveltal, and Zygarde in the last arc was because Hoopa brought him there, which makes so much more sense because I thought Lear was loaning them out. I got real concerned. I was like, where did he get that? But I forgot Hoopa just like pulling in people left and right, hence why all the people on Pasio are there. But after Giovanni gets this phone call where it's like, all the grunts are like, we have some Ultra Beasts left, but like, we're gonna get our asses kicked by every single pair on Pasio, because every single fucking person is here, and also the villain organizations are also now kicking our ass. So Giovanni's like, you know what? I accept defeat. I accept that you guys won. And Paulo's like, you do not accept defeat this easily. You're not giving up. You're giving up right now? Like, you're not the one who's giving up. I bet you have a whole other plan in mind. Giovanni's like, maybe I do. Maybe I don't. Guess you'll have to find out. And dips. As per usual, Giovanni dips at the most important part. Average Pokevillain moment, am I right? Then after that, it says like some time has passed and everything is calmed down. Obviously, Team Rocket has retreated, and then we all meet up again, and Paulo is with Looker now and Annabelle, and Paulo announces, he's like, yeah, I'm a part of the International Police now. Was the villain arc an international police arc this entire time? But then Paulo's like, well, I'm not like officially affiliated. It's just because I understand the villains so much. Is Paulo mean? Because I understand the villains so much. They need to use my intel for it, but I'm not officially affiliated with the International Police. Good for Paulo, I guess. While this is happening, Emma's also like outs Looker for getting yelled at by his like big bosses for letting Paulo join the International Police, which, okay, cool, I guess. After Paulo has this little announcement, Lear comes out of nowhere and is like, hey Paulo, I want to personally thank you. And Paulo's like, why would you personally thank me? I didn't do anything good. I like kind of took Hoopa from you. But he's like, but without you, we wouldn't have gotten Hoopa back. So I do want to thank you for that. Then it just kind of ends off with all of us being like, you know what, let's have a Pokemon battle. Let's have a fun one. Let's have something fun, lighthearted, you know, and all that. And so everyone's happy. And in the distance, we see Giovanni, and he's looking at us, and he has this moment where he's like, I wonder what my next plan will be. And the arc ends. That's it. That was the finale. I feel like I have so many questions. Have we considered what are the other villain organizations doing now? Like, I know they help save Passio in this case, but also considering some of their goals, maybe we should like address them just a little bit more. What if they turn back to villainy? I know this is supposed to kind of end with like the thought that like they're kind of redeemed. They're not like super redeemed, but I've always had kind of an issue with their redemption arcs, and I was like, I feel like the reason for me the redemption arcs don't work is because they're still left with those Pokemon that can achieve their goals. And I know it's because of the sync pair aspect of it. I feel like story-wise you can like fudge things a little bit. It's a crack universe, like you can take them away story-wise, right? Even with all that, I actually personally, I feel like this ending works. It does feel like a little kind of like not all the loose ends are tied, but it does at the end of it, you know, it gives you all the happy feelings of like, oh yeah, you completed the arc and all that. So it's not like a bad ending by any means. I think it works for what it was. But yeah, that's it. That's the whole villain arc throughout it all. Crazy, am I right? You know, it was really funny because like after I made my first video, I knew I wanted to talk about the Pokemon's villain arc solely because I knew really chaotic stuff happened in it, but I forgot how chaotic it was, and I'm glad I got to play it again and just yap about it for like an unnecessary amount of time. But you know, that's it for the villain arc. Don't subscribe, I don't know. I'm not a YouTuber. I just yap at you guys. Don't follow my socials. Social media is going downhill anyway. Don't follow me anywhere. Let's go outside and have fun, I don't know. But yeah, thanks for listening to me yap, I guess. See you next time. I don't know. I don't know how to end these things. But yeah, I guess bye. Bye-bye.